All right. Welcome, everybody, to the pre show. It's been a week. That's the least we can say at this point. It has definitely been a week. It's been an interesting one at that. Let me fight with my camera here for a second. Come on. Line it up. There. Good enough. All right. Good times, everybody. It's going to be a good show today. We've got plenty of New World content to cover. We've got some Lost Ark content to cover, and we've also got some Star Citizen content to cover. So, all kinds of stuff. But as this is the pre-show, it's kind of ad-lib up until we actually start the show, and we kind of try and avoid some of the topics. Some of the topics that we're going to aim to cover in the show. We might touch on them at the start, but yeah. Of course, we're joined by McLeod. Let me get up the 2-cam version of the show here. There it is. Welcome, McLeod. Oh, I just realized I've been muted, so he has no idea that he's already been introed.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, good times. Good times, everybody. Got some funny things have happened in the realm of just entertainment since our last show. Netflix apparently lost like a large percentage of its value as a company because they missed their estimated growth, and then turned around and came out with an estimate that over 100 million households are sharing passwords. It's about time they figured that one out. Like, yeah, does anybody know who owns the original account anymore? Like,
yeah, we're all sharing that original account.
Yeah, like it's shared from a friend to a friend through a grandfather through another friend. Like, traded for a Hulu password. You know?
I didn't actually realize that there were multiple Netflix accounts. I thought it was just like that. That's what the Netflix was. It was a Netflix account. Like
Steve Smith at hotmail.com. I just thought it was real. Like, I thought everybody used the same one.
I thought I was signing up for the Netflix account, not a Netflix account.
Yeah. Yeah. So in true fashion, that's one of the major stories actually since last week. Additionally, there's some nonsense going on with the company involved in making the Snickers bar. Apparently, they kind of playfully talked about removing the kind of chocolate ridges on top of the candy bar.
Oh yes, okay. All right. I see where you're coming from there. Like, and yeah, I remember seeing that.
And this was taken away by media and all of that to become this story about how Snickers was removing the quote dick vein from the top of the candy because it looked too much like a penis. First off, if that's what your dick looks like, you need to see a doctor. But like, yeah. You know, but two, like they did nothing to counter this assumption. Like they were basically I free publicity, I guess.
Yeah, I would have gone with like, you know what, it's free publicity, go for it.
Mm-hmm. So yeah. In true fashion, their handle for Snickers has actually just been, you know, just leaning into this one. Like their most recent post is literally good news. Contrary to what's trending on Twitter, the veins remain.
So they haven't used the big dick energy thing at all. Like I would have thought they would go with that in some way, shape, or form.
They definitely just they have been very much leaning into the whole thing, which I think is hysterical because it's a candy bar, it's a harmless joke, and you know
Look,
Like, it's not hurting
whoever.
anybody.
Right. If the person in charge of your corporate Twitter account does not understand like the rough and tumble politics of playground like bullying, then he has like no like he should be like removed from the Twitter sort of roles, or the sort of like basically the um you know, to being in charge of the Twitter account, because like that is essentially what's going on, or like what happens on Twitter. Like if you get, yeah, like, you know, Snickers is basically playing this really well
Mm-hmm.
because they understand the scenario, they understand the kind of like the environment there. But yeah, I didn't expect that you were going to be bringing that up in the pre-show.
Yeah,
But,
yeah. You know,
things
figured I'd start out strong here.
Yeah, fair enough. I know that I like something happened Monday, which was kind of cool, but that's very much from a content creator sort of side of things. And that's to do with DaVinci Resolve. But like, I'm fairly certain there's a lot of people who don't know DaVinci Resolve out there. But there was some really cool collaborative stuff that they've kind of unveiled in a sort of like a not really a press conference, but more kind of like sort of like a showcase of new things and new stuff that they've been working on. But essentially, it's they really embracing the capacity of the internet when it comes to sort of doing collaborative products and projects and stuff. So that's really cool. Yeah, essentially, it's going to be potentially yet another thing that A's has to pay a small amount per month for.
Yeah, yeah. We're done paying for Adobe.
Not much. $5 a month. I think
Yeah.
$5 a month is okay, right?
I'd be okay with that. I'd be okay with that. It's not the 60 that we were paying for Adobe.
Oh Jesus, yeah.
Fucking racket.
God.
Fucking, it's a bullshit racketeering. Just let me buy it. Like, let me buy the program. Like, why? Like, why is this program not like $150 and just done? Boom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly.
One-time purchase. No, it's got to be. Oh, we want to make sure it's a service. So that if you're done with it, you don't have to pay for it anymore. Yeah, but in the meantime, you get to fucking screw me every month. Like,
yeah. You see, I think sort of their approach to arguing that would be, well, it motivates you to use the product.
yeah. Yeah.
Like, yes, but also no. Because like it's the thing, it's not like somebody, it's not like they come up to your door, knock on your door, and go, "Hi, can we have our money for this month?" Like it disappears out of your account every month. It doesn't like there's no big fanfare about the fact that it like disappears out of your bank account each month, right?
Yep.
So it's not like you get reminded every month that like money has just disappeared out of your account for for this, that, or the other. You have to do that yourself.
Apparently, there's office hours for New World going on right now.
Oh, right, okay. Did we set drops? Did we set that thing back up? I don't think we did.
Yeah.
Let me just check. No, I meant I was thinking something else. Because where is it? I'm drawing a blank on the third-party software that we use for some stupid reason. Stream Elements. That's the one.
Oh, I turned that off.
Oh, you did turn that off.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
For a
Um,
particular reason, for not a particular reason, like
yeah, yeah. There's a reason for it. Um, I'll tell you about it
there's
later.
actually drops happening.
Yes, there are actually drops happening. There's still open drops for the Crimson Plague Edge set.
Sweet.
So that's very much still happening. And that'll be happening through the 25th. So if you
Oh,
haven't
okay.
gotten those,
Nice.
basically all you got to do is sit in channel for 2 hours, and it'll give it to you.
Yeah.
Or you can spam drops in chat too. That works too. Like it's still just going to be a 2 hour thing. One of the reasons to actually hit the exclamation point drops in chat is so that it registers that you are actually watching the channel. Because one thing, and I'm going to take a minute and take the piss out of Twitch here, because Twitch is
Yeah.
terrifyingly bad at providing legitimate numbers of what's actually happening. Like like you don't count as a viewer unless certain circumstances, certain lengths of time, certain events have happened. Like there's a whole if then statement that's trunk. Like it's just shitloads of different if thens. So like if you just join the channel, say something in chat, it'll help you get counted earlier so that you don't have to watch for more than the 2 hour mark to get
Yeah,
your
it's
drops,
it's
which is
slightly
it
weird.
sounds stupid, but yeah.
It's a little weird like that, right? And this is the thing. I was gonna say, like, guys, just appreciate that that Ace is very much a stats man. Like, he likes stats to be, you know, to be functioning. In actual fact, he 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 takes it very personally, somewhat professionally as well, to make sure that stats function properly and can be counted on. So, like when it comes to
Yeah.
stats, like you best have your A game kind of going, especially if you're if you're like fucking one of the largest companies in the entire world.
Mhm.
And have been for a long period of time. You should have your stats
Well, like
like in check.
let's put this in perspective. Watching the channel, you can see how many people are also watching in the bottom right, kind of down under where McLeod is. You can see a little red number
Like
that says,
downish,
this many people are
downish,
watching.
like there.
Yeah. Now, that number right now, I'm going to go to the channel. So we load up the channel on one tab.
Your dashboard, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That number on one screen has 546. On the other screen has, and this is the official number that they're supposedly tracking my account to pay me for ads for, is 522. Oh, now it's 473. And the other one is 538. Why are these numbers different, Twitch? What are you doing?
What is
Why
going
is this
on?
a thing? You are a billion-dollar company. How do you not know how to track the same number across multiple pages? What the dick is going on with your systems?
It's all obfuscation, man. They don't want you to know.
Ah. And now the other ones, 483, 473, like what's
Who
going on?
knows?
Why is there a
So
difference?
just so you know, guys, like I've known this for a long period of time from streaming and from hosting streams and all that kind of stuff for a long period of time. I've tried to say to A's, don't look at that number because it is bullshit, but he can't not look at that. It's
Can't
just
can't
so
be done.
funny.
Can't be done.
It's just so funny.
Yeah.
But yeah,
The
you
impressive
will
number for
go
our channel they
slowly
just
insane.
recently took away as well, because they were like, this
That's
isn't a valuable number. The total number of views, which is basically like total impressions out there from your channel. We had like, it was just over 2.5 million views. Now, if you want to tell me that
yeah,
that's not an important number when you're talking to sponsors, when you're talking to like potential partners, those kind of things, like you're full of shit. Like,
yeah, exactly.
literally, we can say, hey, our show all time has hit more than 2.5 million people in just raw views. Like,
Yeah,
that's an impressive number. When you look at our follower count, great, we've got, 5,883, plus whoever wants to join soon. Click that button. Uh, like I've completely, it's not that I don't care about subs. It's that like I don't, I don't keep track of them anymore because it's a depressingly low number for the number of people that watch our channel. Like
They're
it's
looking
just,
for
I just
they're
have
looking
it
for
like if you
news.
click on the
That's fine.
dashboard, you can just turn it off, so it just no longer shows those to me. Like I thank you to anyone and everyone who has ever subbed, but like that number used to be really high and now it's, followed like literally our, you can actually see it on our uh
I would
on our Twitch
say
tracker. You can
is
actually
this is
see
probably
the view
I
counter go
yeah,
down with the
yeah.
player count in even amounts.
I would say that this is literally not a an amazing thing to talk about on a show, you know. Um, but I don't make the rules, I guess. You know,
Eh,
um,
like I'd rather be honest with
I know it
people.
irks
Like,
you. I know it. I
you
do
know,
know it irks you. Right. I get
like
that.
and it's not like I'm, it's not like I want people to be like, hey, throw your subs in. Do it, don't do it, see if I
Yeah.
care. Like, like thanks for
If you
doing it
guys
if you do.
appreciate it, then like
Yeah.
we're all for it as such. Like,
If anybody wants to know what that number
ideally,
is, if anybody wants to know what that
it,
number is, we have 11 current subs. Yeah. Like I'll
that's
be transparent with people.
yeah, transparent on
Cuz
that one. Yeah,
yeah, why not? Like we've got 11
yeah,
people who are straight up G's. Good on them.
yeah,
Everyone else, good on you for being here. Like we were doing this
yeah,
when we had 5 people watching. We were doing it when we had, 26,000 people watching. We're going to continue
hmm
to do it however long and for whatever reason that clearly isn't monetary related. You know,
exactly,
like
exactly.
if we were doing this for the money, we would be doing it very, very differently.
Yeah, and the just so you know, the drops are for what is it? The
The Crimson
um
Plague set.
Crimson Plague set. Yeah, so if
Yep.
you guys haven't got that yet, then stick around for a couple of hours. We will definitely be around for a couple of hours, so you'll definitely by watching the stream and at least saying something in chat in some way, shape, or form to make sure that you are, to make sure that Twitch isn't sleeping and actually like realizes that you are here. Um, you know, in 2 hours you'll end up getting what you want to get.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. But yeah.
Yeah.
So in stuff that I guess could go in the show, like main show, but I really can't be asked with putting in the main show. Like Blizzard has actually said something about like have released some information about their new update or their new upcoming update for World of Warcraft.
Ooh.
And
Did
the
they release
only
it or
thing
did
that
it leak?
no, they did release it. They have like a site that showcases it and stuff like that, right?
Very nice.
All I will say regarding it is there clearly was a lot of hard work and effort put in by a lot of third party South Asian um, you know um, game development and sort of graphics and development and animation sort of studios that probably weren't paid anywhere near as much money as they should have and probably worked their staff far harder than they should have. If you don't know quite what I'm talking about, there was a kind of like an expose style, sort of expose style video about burnout and like crunch regarding sort of high level game manufacturers like Western game developers, and game studios, and how in order to like save their reputation regarding crunch, they basically they basically hire out like Asian studios and like sort of like lesser known studios from the sort of like South Asian kind of areas and sort of a few other kind of places in order to basically utilize them to crunch like crazy in order to make or in order to make slash sort of develop the art assets and animation assets and all that kind of stuff. Some of the QA and all that kind of stuff for a lot of the large products. Like for example, I think Warcraft Reforged was one of them. So I'm fairly certain that like this update has probably got a bunch of had a bunch of stuff created by those companies as well. So if it goes well, I guess kudos to whoever did the work, because I'm fairly certain that Blizzard, as an actual company, didn't. They probably hired that, like they probably sort of um, you know sent that work out to get done on the cheap. But yeah, that kind of happened. But I was watching an Asmongold video about it, and he seemed quite pumped about it. He did a poll, and his poll basically came back saying that it looked like the majority of people were fairly pumped about it. But we'll see what we'll see when it comes to it actually dropping and people get to play it and all that kind of stuff. But like, there was a lot of dragons involved. There was a lot of flying involved. There was a lot of mount kind of talk and stuff like that. Being said. All that kind of stuff. So definitely stuff that's like right up Asmongold's kind of street. And definitely something that like basically us two like really not massive fans of flying mounts.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of flying mounts because, especially for like games like New World, it just wouldn't work.
I mean, we're not saying that like flying anything is bad. Like, we're just saying that like when it comes to
it requires an entire another set of
yeah, you can't just add
mechanics
it to a
and
game.
gameplay, like because like right now, like New World, you couldn't add flying mounts because like
You could
once
just
you
skip
get
to
10 feet
the
above the
end of
ground, there's nothing there.
yeah, and you can skip over like sort of like the hard areas of hard areas in sort of like high level PvE kind of locations, and then literally just land on the tower right at the end of like a long twisty windy lane of like really good PvE content, um and kill the boss right at the end, right, and then just fly off. Like, it's stuff like that. It's stuff like that that me and A kind of like don't really like with regards to how a flying mount would work in certain in certain situations. So you couldn't just add it to a to something like New World. You'd have to add a whole bunch of different things to basically make that mount not be like massively overpowered or massively sort of like uh, just abusive to other systems in the game. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm all for it. Like like in some games, but like
Mm.
it has to fit. It has to work well. Um, and I mean mounts in general have to fit and have to work within the lore of the game. Um, like if they ever added mounts into New World, they would need to be something that could be killed, and there's a logical
Exactly.
reason that you can get them back, because of the whole like no death thing. But um, so
Other
yeah,
than that, like my last like 3 or 4 days have literally been like nothing to do with gaming. Like, I have literally been like DIYing and like redesigning and like refurbishing like a house. So like I have been catching up on sleep like crazy, waking up and then going and doing manual labor and then coming back and then sort of sleeping. Yeah, rinse and repeat for a few days till
yeah.
basically my body's like, no, don't do this anymore, and I'm like, okay then, Jesus Christ.
Um, Now, I, on the other hand, have been playing a decent amount of games. I've been playing a good amount of New World, playing some Outpost Rush because now I'm finally on a server that that's a possibility.
Oh, that it
Um,
pops, yeah. Nice.
yep. I've been playing Lost Ark. I'm finally into tier 3. It just broke 1300 gear score on my main character um, earlier today. So
Nice.
I'm happy about that. I actually started up my sixth character and got them knowledge transferred to level 50. So that's
Mm-hmm.
solid start to that one. Um, and then I'm looking forward to, and we'll talk more about this in the Lost Ark section. Looking forward to the new patch that should be coming soon.
Oh, I had a really weird moment there where I thought that it was actually released.
It was supposed to be. It was supposed to be. They launched the
they,
trailer
they,
and then they didn't launch the
yeah,
patch.
I know that was the weird thing. They launched the trailer, they put the kind of like the side up with all the information and stuff, and then they didn't launch the patch, and I was like, huh? It's like where's
um,
the actual kind of like servers are going down here and patch will be applied in this, and I was looking for it, and I was like, wait, where the fuck is it? So yeah,
exactly. So it's
very
been
strange.
delayed. They found a critical error that they won't launch with. Um,
Ah, okay.
so once that's patched, then they'll launch it. But till then, it's delayed, which naturally has caused all kinds of shit because the people who were upset that the humanity, there's no daily login reward. They appeased everybody with
Oh
a
right,
5 days of a refresh
additional.
to that, and now people who play daily are again not getting their daily reward for logging in because for some reason that's
You know what I find funny about that is there are people there who are complaining that it's Amazon's fault, and it's like you understand the difference between a publisher and developer, right? Like a publisher doesn't go into and change the game. Like a publisher may say to the developer, "Hey, can you guys like hurry the fuck up a bit," sort of thing. But it's the developer who develops and like fixes issues in the game for the for the um for the update to go out. Like this is you know Smartgate aren't like new to this in any way, shape, or form. They know what they're doing. So when they say that they have an issue that they need to resolve before the patch goes out, you better know that like what they're talking about is a serious thing and that they need to deal with. If they,
um,
it's one of those things where like if every single developer of a game like you know always did what the majority of players asked them to, you guys would get some really fucking broken games.
yeah, god
You
yeah.
know, and it's up to developers to have the backbone to say, look, guys, we know that you really want this, but trust us. If we gave you what it is at the moment, you would not like the experience at all. So please just trust us and understand that, you know, when it's released, you'll enjoy it. Like, and if we try and
um,
release it before we feel it's ready for you guys, you will not like this.
mhm.
Yeah.
So the other thing to note is we've seen what happens when you don't do this kind of due
Well,
diligence. You know,
yeah, we do.
so
Uh,
like
I,
as
I
I
would,
think
I
the
would,
New World
I would
community
refer you to.
specifically is very much
But
in the ballpark of what we can wait.
yeah,
We'll
I
wait a
know.
week so we
I
don't
would,
have to.
I would also refer you to CD Project Red.
Yes, although in their case it
Right?
would be more than a week.
Yes, that would be true.
That said, if you're looking to try a game, like if you're looking to finally try Cyberpunk, I know a lot of people got burnt by it back in the day. The
I
current
got burnt by it.
version is well, you also had to like basically hack your computer in order to play it, but you
I
know,
had to hack my computer to play it. Even then, it wasn't exactly a joyous experience.
yeah,
I actually, I ended up almost upgrading my computer completely in order to, in order to play it, and I still haven't played it. So I
Yeah,
really should get that game installed and actually like try it out. Like, obviously, update the game as well.
yeah. It is.
Yeah,
I'd actually, that would be a good one to go back and play again. Because I played the shit out of that game when it came out.
yeah,
It was not smooth. It was not entirely smooth sailing, but it was good fun. Like, you know, I got
I would
part of it
say,
glitched, so I never had the opportunity to finish all of the missions because I had one place that I could not get into, and it prevented me from the 100% complete. But
ah, it
um,
sucks.
I did play all the different endings. I played um, all of the endings. I kind of went and saw all of the jump stuff so that you can go see your apartments that were supposed to be in the game when it launched. Um, you know, there's so much in that game that was supposed to be there that just never made it to the launched version of the game. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I feel bad. I feel bad because like the game had so much promise and then just shit the bed on launch, especially for the previous generation consoles. Like that was
Yeah, I
yeah
was gonna say that, like, the PC sort of experience was definitely a lot better than the like like last generation console experience. Like, they really got it in the neck.
yeah, which sucks for them, but like PC master race for a reason. You
Yeah,
know,
I know, right?
like it's yeah. That
Like,
said, that's a good game to try
like,
again. Another one that like people have probably written off by now is No Man's Sky.
oh
Uh,
yeah, No Man's
phenomenal
did No Man's
game.
Sky have a didn't No Man's Sky have a bit of an update recently or something?
It had a recent update, added some aliens, some new alien bases and stuff like
Nice,
that.
nice.
It's really well done. Um, it is now the version of the game that they promised that was not delivered at launch that
No.
is now been delivered.
Well,
Um,
I'm glad they finally got there.
yeah. Um, so I it's a fun game. If anybody's looking to try something new, it's very much worth giving it a go. Um,
Mm.
trying to think, there's a few other games um that I've been playing recently. Um,
I was there thinking to myself, like, what's game industry top is kind of looking like right now? Um,
Battlefield 21 or Battlefield 2042, according
oh
to
God.
devs within the industry or within EA, have confirmed that they are still actively working on the game to improve it in hopes that people will come back to what is a comically low number of people playing the game compared to other versions of the game.
Yeah,
Um,
I've heard that Battlefield 5 has actually got um
they had
like
to up the servers.
20,000 something people playing at the moment,
Yeah,
like sort of around about that kind of amount, like
yeah,
actually
and people
like
weren't
pretty
people
decent
weren't
numbers.
like Battlefield 5 was not well received because
No.
it felt like it felt incomplete. Like there are things that are still not in the game. Um, that were promised for launch and then promised shortly after launch, and now we're much further along than launch that still don't exist. Um, and it is what it is. Like, that's not necessarily a problem. It's just one of those like you have to know. Um, yeah, it's just bad. Like it shouldn't have happened that way. Battlefield 5 is a much better game because it was done when it launched. Like this is one thing that gaming companies really need to learn is that like you need to actually finish the game before you release it. Like it's not rocket science. Um Now there's this idea of games as a service. When I say finish the game, I mean you need at minimum a starting board that is commensurate with what you offered.
Yeah.
I.e., if I offer a game that has open world plus, 6 dungeons plus, X, Y, and Z, I need to meet the things that I say I'm going to have in the game, or explain why I don't have them. And it can't just be well, I ran out of time and the game needs to come out. You know, like it needs to be we changed our vision to exclude, you know, the old PvP system, New World, for example. We changed that, which changed how the game played, which fundamentally changed a bunch of the different systems within it. Great, super, more power to you.
Mm.
Um, you know, from there, you can enhance the game, but the game needs to feel as though it's a full game. It shouldn't feel like I'm getting nickel and dimed every time I turn around. Um,
Yeah.
to some
They have.
exception, like the free
Yeah.
to play model can kind of have that, where like you can time gate some stuff and sell. I don't like this, but like this is the practice. They can time gate stuff and then sell ways around those time gates. Um,
It's that classic situation of like, create the problem and then,
yeah,
sell the solution to that problem, right?
yeah,
Like, it's not like we as consumers have never seen this occur and don't know about this, like, this sort of create the problem and sell the solution sort of situation. Like it's, you know, been done to us for a long period of time to the point where we know about it now. So like,
yeah. It's
stop
not
trying to
new to
think that
us.
you're being like, stop trying to think that you're like fucking doing 4D chess with us. Like, it's not that. It's like yeah, you might. You might be doing 4D. You might be like, achieving, supremacy in the 4D chess kind of thing when you're talking about like, I don't know, people who play like FIFA, you know, FIFA fucking 21 or something like that, maybe. But like,
I mean,
majority of decent
FIFA
gamers.
2020 reskinned to 21.
Oh yeah, no, no, sorry, yeah, my bad. FIFA 2020 reskin version 2.
Yeah,
Um, you know, but you know what I mean. Like it's like, you know, the majority of like decent gamers out there know about about these techniques. So
yeah,
just, stop being like a douche about it. Yeah.
yeah. It is what it is. Like it's a challenge. It's not particularly an easy. The industry as a whole is not. It seems very like conflicted with itself on the direction that it needs to go, because obviously like you have the groups that are pushing for NFTs and cryptocurrencies and all of this, which like we talked about this the other night, and like it doesn't like, fundamentally speaking, I
There's a
trust
funny.
that New World will have my gear set, my unique gear that I have on my character when I log in next time. Like, I don't need an NFT to know that they have my gear. Like, or to know that it's mine
Yeah.
because it's on my account. Like, you know, from there, like, you have
So
systems in like Lost Ark where you allow selling things, 2 or 3 times. That item effectively is a unique item. We don't need
yeah,
some
like
fancy
it.
tech to showcase that it can only be sold 3 times before it can't be transferred again.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like it's funny because, you may have something that looks identical to something, but it does have a unique, a unique ID attached to it. It is a unique item, even though there are many like it, right?
Yeah.
This this gun is mine. There are many like it, but this one is mine, right? Um, this is the reason why we have like 32-bit and 64-bit systems, because they require, like, the 64-bit gives such a huge amount of unique identifier, kind of like space for unique identifiers to be, you know for games, like large games, like expansive MMOs, to be able to have lots of stuff in it. And obviously, if you're not making MMOs, or you're not making games, like, a 64-bit kind of system gives you a lot of, a lot of range and a lot of capability to be able to do what you want to do, because of the, because of the bit, because of the size of the identifiers that you can use for various different things.
Mm-hmm.
And regarding, because you mentioned NFTs, there was like I was looking through GameIndustry.biz, and there was a kind of funny article, which is just it's just it's almost like you can see the sort of like the future coming kind of thing. But the article is, Blizzard insists that it has no NFT plans after surveying players on NFTs.
So it had plans. It was trying to validate those plans against the public opinion, and then it went, "Oh no, this is another you guys have phones right moment." Oh,
Yeah, right.
You guys like NFTs, right? Oh no, never mind. We had no plans. It was not a thing. We weren't planning it at all.
It's like the survey itself was discussed on Twitter by Blizzard players, with one player including a screen cap of questions asking respondents to indicate their interest in a number of topics, including play to earn gaming and NFTs as two separate topics.
So okay, I have a controversial opinion because I don't.
Oh no,
We're gonna go there. We're gonna go there. We got 15 minutes. We got 15 minutes. In the next 15 minutes, we're going to talk about play to earn.
This is going to be a hot take. This is going to be so full of hot takes. And
I have a controversial opinion because,
just to warn you, I am against his controversial opinion. But we'll see how this is.
Let's talk. First, let's talk about why play to earn has so many problems. Like, it is so bad. What? We're not devs.
Yeah, like
you know we're not devs, right? Like sometimes like people pop in and they assume that they assume that the channel's called New World Order Show. Like, the game's called New World. It does not have Order Show in the title of the game. Like, we're just two dudes. Like, just throwing that out there because like that seemed out of left field, not to but anyways, let's talk about pay to earn.
Let's talk about pay to earn.
So pay to earn,
what are the negatives of pay to earn? Like, there are a lot of negatives to pay to earn.
It's got a lot of problems. It's got a lot of problems. It has a lot of things that you have to be concerned about. For instance, you have to be concerned about negative actors trying to cycle money through your system to clean it and create criminal enterprises trying to wash their money through the system. It happens. So that has to be something that you have to be vigilant about. That has to be something that you have to be very careful about how it works. From there, it also disincentivizes playing the game normally and incentivizes botting in a whole different way, because not only do the bot makers make the money from the sale, but the people using the bots are then able to make money. So this creates a lot more of an incentive to create more and more advanced bots, which Makad and I are very much in agreement on that is a huge problem already. Adding an incentive to that would create an additional load on that problem.
Yeah, it would be ridiculous.
Now, this is where, I believe that the additional money made from a system from play to earn should enable developers to have more money to put into anti-cheating and anti-botting. I think that I would love to see an actual play to earn game that actually pays out so there's a couple of things here. I'd like to see a pay to earn game that actually pays out a meaningful amount of money for the amount of work that you're putting in. The problem is that that's just never the case.
It
has not been the case.
The issue with that is they have to understand, they have to figure that out in terms of a lowest common denominator, right? And if you have a worldwide audience, the lowest common denominator is always the person who is playing from the country with the poorest sort of or the sort of basically the poorest income stream as such, right? And so, you'll have an issue if you're paying out to those people such a huge sum that they that like they are millionaires in their country, effectively, like that they are rolling hard on there, because essentially what that means is like you just end up gonna you're gonna end up creating the situation where, like, you know people in that country will literally drop legitimate decent job, like legitimate, like, jobs that benefit their country and their people, over something that just generates, like, pixels, essentially, ones and zeros,
Mm-hmm.
that really are kind of meaningless at the end of the day. And that's both a problem, for the world, and for that country, and also is a bit of a problem for you as a company, because you're throwing money into into a sort of like a black hole as such, almost.
Mm-hmm. Now, some of the other challenges, like right now, like anti-cheating basically relies on programs like Easy Anti-Cheat, um,
Hmm.
which is supposed to be getting funded by royalties from all of the different games that participate in using it as a service. What it's doing is it's looking at your memory level to identify if you have or are running certain programs, and that you are not actively trying to manipulate your memory on your computer. So, like, for instance, everything that runs through your computer and shows up on your screen runs through your memory at some point, and you can change those values. This is a very common modding procedure, um, so that you can give yourself infinite money in like single player games. Like McLeod and I has had this discussion the other day. I
Yes.
have no issue running mods or running trainers or running stuff like that on single player games. Only single player games. And the reason for that is that, like, if I play through all of Assassin's Creed, and I, get to the end game and I just want to dick around with the fancy skins that are in the shop, well, screw you. I already bought the game. Like, it affects nobody if I use a trainer to give myself all of the skins. Like,
Like the unicorn boat skin, for
yeah,
example.
like the unicorn boat skin. You know, it's ridiculous. It's fun. It gave me 25 minutes of absolutely probably the funnest thing that I've ever done in that game.
It was quite
Raiding
hilarious
in
to
a
watch.
unicorn boat. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
just
that
saying,
was.
fun as shit. That said, I'm not going to pay for it. Also, that particular skin was not in the store at the time. Like,
Yeah.
it was hidden as an item that was in the game but not available. Well, screw that. Like, it's a single player game. Or
Mhm.
like playing through Cyberpunk 2077. Using a trainer to get yourself additional points so that you can go run late game content early. You know, or making it so that you can reskin your character or spawn new vehicles or whatever. Like, you do you. It's a single player game. Who cares?
Yeah,
Now,
the important thing is, like, you're not impacting anybody else's gameplay by doing it. Like,
exactly. I might be
and that's
impacting a
the
developer's
important aspect.
wallet in some circumstances. Or like, um,
Well,
one of the people in our server mentioned this
sometimes.
earlier today, is that they
Okay.
activated a mod for a game, and they realized that, oh no, I started up this game and it gave me every one of the Steam achievements for the game as part of the mod
Like, at the same
without
time.
knowing it. Like, boom, you now have all of the achievements. Now, that's not particularly fair, obviously, but at the same time, those achievements do nothing to anybody.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
you know, uh, it is what it is. And
And as far
again,
as I know, that mod was actually, like, it is legitimately sort of like okayed by the developer as well. So,
yeah,
you know, as far I don't think that there
if
is
you're going to
anybody who's
allow
gonna, like.
mods and at the
Yeah.
same time you're not going to prevent those mods from automatically checking off all of your Steam achievements, then as a
then
developer, you have made the mistake, not the player.
you've either made the mistake or you've made a decision that, like, you know, Steam achievements doesn't matter.
Now, this line, this is there's no gray space here. It is a solid black fucking bar
Yeah,
in
it is
between
white,
single player
black.
games and multiplayer games. If you are modding, botting, etc., uh, and you're doing that in a multiplayer game, you are doing something wrong. Unless the game allows mods. That's the only exception. Like, for instance, like there's some mods that you can do for like co-op games and some other
Yeah,
stuff.
like
But again, when it comes to
Star
botting,
SSFU mods and this stuff.
if it's like, especially if it's explicitly stated as like not allowed, then yeah, you're not, you're doing something wrong. Now, why is botting so popular? And it's not just that, oh, hey, we need to level these characters. It's because people out there are buying that fucking gold from people. They're buying that and RMTing on the outside, which,
Yeah, there's also that aspect of sometimes, sometimes grindy games use very monotonous, grindy like mechanics to to elongate a process, right? And those
yeah,
long, grindy sort of like mechanics generally are not like engaging. They're very repetitive things that people don't really like doing. It's not something that
exactly.
they that most people enjoy. I know that there's going to be those some people who like really who enjoy, you know, like doing that kind of stuff, but like the majority of people don't. So they will find ways of being able to augment the process. Like, back in the day, that's actually a really kind of fun kind of thing, because it's like it's not an actual like bot, but it is kind of like, a way of botting the program, right? Like back in the day when you were playing, say, like Gran Turismo, right? There were the long kind of like, the what was it, some of the sort of championships, some of the races, right, were like endurance races, right?
Mhm.
And you could get those endurance races that were on um like sort of like American Raceway kind of tracks, right? They were just basically like a circle, essentially, right? Like an oblong slash circle thing. And you could set up your controller to literally just drive with a bit of a, a bit of a kind of um like a right turn, like a slight right turn or a slight left turn, and you'd just set it going, and you'd put the controller down, then you'd walk away for an hour, and you'd come back and be like, "Oh, cool, I won that race," right? Because it's boring and monotonous.
Mhm.
So people figure this shit out, and it's that same mentality of like, this is boring, monotonous, and like not worth my time, so I'm going to go and do something else. And um, some people out there on the internet find ways of being able to automate that process, and they invariably make money. But like as like we should and would say on the show, if it's against the EULA or the terms of service, you probably shouldn't do it.
Yeah,
But invariably people do.
yeah, and really, like, the challenge comes when people decide that the in-game way is just not the way, it's not working for them, or there's circumstances where people in game have made so much money, that
Mm.
cashing out is attractive. So, for instance, I have not done this. CCP Games can check this against my accounts. Um, I am a multi-trillionaire in Eve. Um, that amount of gold, or that amount of ISK in Eve Online,
Oof.
is
Oof.
worth a lot of actual money.
I mean, you're talking about like a Titan that's worth what, 120, 140 billion being like 2, 3 grand, right?
Yeah, let's see,
Something along
100,
those lines.
120.
And that's That's 120 billion. He's got trillions.
I've got a little over 4
So
trillion. So,
so you guys can do the maths if you want out there, but essentially what Ace is doing is like, if there was a legitimate way to cash out in EVE Online,
I'd have a new
you
SUV.
probably would do it. Like,
I'd have a new
like,
SUV. Is how much money I'd have.
and chances are, and this is the other thing regarding like play to earn kind of stuff, is when people can legitimately cash out like that. That essentially you're essentially putting a game into that play to earn kind of category. When you put a game into a play to earn category, like, the whole value of work, the whole value of, like, intrinsic value of like currency in a game, like, drops basically through the floor, because essentially that becomes a way of people cutting a paycheck each month, and if it's better than the paycheck that they make legitimately in real life, they will do that, like, for their entire day. And that is a situation that could potentially, intentionally, like, um create millions more players for a game, but will drive, the market down like a motherfucker, basically.
And like
And
it's
so,
it's one it's one of
so
those things, like, it either has to be added at the very beginning of the game, and even then
mhm,
it's probably not gonna go well unless you have like most of your team working on ways of preventing it from going south. Um,
yeah.
which then, like, you lose the incentive for long-term gameplay because you need those people to work on future development and future gameplay options. Um,
hmm
or like you just cannot add it halfway in. Like EVE Online could never add a play to earn feature because you'd have people like me who haven't played in years. Like my version of playing EVE Online, technically my money in EVE Online still plays the game. And actually played a major role despite the fact that I have not logged into the game. I logged in once in the last 2 years, and that was to transfer money to Goonswarm Federation to ensure that we would win the war. And I
hmm
gave them enough money that I have made more money per month on the interest of that loan than most people make in that game in a year,
Actively,
actively playing.
day by day, playing day
Yeah.
by day, quite extensively.
And I'm very happy about that because, frankly, my guys won. And when it comes to wars and Eve, it's all about whose treasury can last the longest. And when you've got people throwing trillions around, you can do that. And eventually they're going to pay me back because I know they're good for it. I know they're a
Yeah.
big enough group. They're going to have the tax revenue that's going to be able to continue the payments at minimum. And eventually they're going to pay me back my large sum of money on top of all of the interest payments they've been paying since, because they've not paid down any of the principal payments since I gave it to them, which I'm all
Yeah.
for. They can keep
And
however much money as
yeah,
possible because I'm making comical
yeah.
multiple billions.
You make comical amounts of money out of it, but like,
Yeah.
the thing is, the the promise was that, like, the dividends that you get from it were not going to be, part of the we're not going to be basically negatived out of the
Yeah.
buyout, the buyback, right?
Yeah. So
So yeah.
I'm all for that. Now, am I going to go back to play Eve? Probably not. Am I going to keep making sure they pay me? Mm-hmm. I've got
Mhm.
external software to make sure that happens. You know, uh, but again, it's one of those things where it's like, I technically that's a version of playing Eve Online.
Yeah.
But if Eve Online were to add an option to cash out,
Yeah.
like the number of people that are in my position, sure, there's probably 25, 30 of us, but all of us are going to come back, and we're all going to cash out at the same time, and it is going to
Yeah,
bottom the market out.
that's what I was gonna say. Is like, do you none of you guys would wait around to see how the market's gonna go, because you all know,
Yeah, no,
like, how
that
the
goes
market will
straight
go.
into the shitter.
It'll
We'd pull every
crash, so
penny we
basically
can.
you cash out as fast as you physically can. And the other thing about that is, if you're actually cashing out IRL cash from the game, and you're doing that like as soon as, the game goes like play to earn, like that is essentially such a huge negative for a game developer to do, because like, the first thing that happens when the play to earn kind of system kicks in is they have to like fork out a whole bunch of money to people cashing out.
Mhm. Now they could
It's
hedge
never going to feel
that.
good.
They could hedge that by basically selling ISK, which they kind of do now. We're running a little bit late to start the show here, but I want to finish this point. They kind of do now, because you can buy Plex from them.
Yeah.
And if they just switched it to you can buy ISK from players for real cash and add a transaction fee, you're getting you're getting a chunk of the cash that's coming into the system to pay for the your money coming
The
out,
ISK that
but
you're
them
selling.
gaining money,
Yeah.
or them gaining an asset in game. So it's a way of doing that.
It's a way of doing the transaction for sure,
Yeah.
but like, yeah.
That
But
said,
you
not advised. It's definitely not something you could add in after the fact. I'm happy that EVE Online decided that they were going to steer away from NFTs after crypto bro Hilmar decided, after years of hinting at it, that they were finally going to read the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a very touch and go moment, and like, there was just like the month after month after month of you just looking at the CEO of this company, this developer, that like, you've enjoyed their game for such a long period of time, just like, just having your head in your hands each month, just going like, what is this guy on? What is this guy doing? Like, does he even understand like the gaming culture? Um, you know, like beyond or like below the sort of like sea level kind of, like bro culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Clearly he didn't, but he seems to
Yeah.
have woken up, which is good. Anyway.
Yeah. So that said, it's a little bit after 7 o'clock. Let's get the actual show going. We'll see you guys on the other side of the intro video.
Yep.
All right, welcome everybody to the NWO show, your source for everything MMO related. Uh-oh, we changed the entrance. So we're covering at this point we're now covering 3 different games. I realize that we are streaming in the New World category for now. We may move categories to the talk show category at some point. However, we always want to take advantage and give our viewers options to benefit from current drops or prime type stuff, like related to specific games. For instance, right now, the drop that is currently ongoing is the Crimson Plague drop, which looks really cool. It was actually designed by committee and by vote on Shroud's stream as a combo coverage with our combo event with both Amazon Games, Shroud, and Adobe. So kind of a cool crossplay event. Came out with this really cool looking skin. So that's why we're streaming in this category. You might see us bounce around. We're going to try some new stuff, but effectively, effectively, yeah, that's how it is. Um, so
Okie dokie.
yeah, let's kick this off. And one thing I do want to say, we used to we used to have an automatic response to the exclamation point drops command in our chat. I've removed that because I want people to do that, and there's a reason more than just like I want people to chat in the channel. It's Twitch may not count you as a viewer for starting that timer to get the drop if for several minutes, like it could be up to 15 minutes that it does not register you as a viewer, but if you hit something in chat, generally it will start that timer. So
Yeah.
I'm basically, that's why I removed it. I know, like, on first glance, people might think like that's a little bit shady because we used to be pretty honest about like the hashtag or the exclamation point drops doesn't actually do anything physically other than enter you into the chat, which then Twitch says, hey, this is confirmed a viewer, and starts their timer for sure. So that's why I removed that. It's kind of a weird way of saying it, kind of a weird way of doing it. I understand that we also are a follow only chat. It's free to hit the follow button. Bite me. Like, frankly, don't care. Like, just putting that out there. Um, there's a limit to my like giving a crap about people's issues, and like one, I'm doing something to help you. Two, you can throw me a bone, and even if you hit the like, hit the follow and then hit the like, there's a button that it'll no longer notify you next to it. You hit the follow button.
Yeah.
I do it all the time. I don't like getting the email. Sorry, but I don't like. But I like I like following channels that I enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So with that,
Yes.
as we always do, let's start with what happened last week. And McLeod, I'll let you take that.
Okay. So in terms of New World news, we obviously we covered New World, we covered Lost Ark, and we covered a bit of Star Citizen last week. So in terms of the New World news, right? From last week, on last week's show, we talked about the free weekend, concluding with basically a marked increase in players. It wasn't like stratospheric in any way, shape, or form, but they're basically like definitely a couple of thousand, like compared to 2 weeks prior, because you couldn't really specifically compare it 1 week prior, because 1 week prior there was the double XP weekend, so that's a kind of like a bit of an outlier in terms of like the regular, the normal amount of people playing. So you had to kind of go back 2 weeks to sort of see the difference, and then the difference was sort of around about 2,000 people. So, you know, um, sort of, I think in like not in a concurrent kind of way. I'm not entirely certain, but yeah, either way, there was a marked increase, which was great. The Easter event dropped. We thought it was going to be great. We had we had this wild expectation from all of the times that we requested this in various different shows, that like it would be amazing to have like the Monty Python style, psycho death rabbit kind of thing. And then obviously AGS dropped a whole bunch of things saying corrupted rabbits were coming to New World, and we were like, oh my god, it's going to be the death rabbit. And then it ended up being basically a passive rabbit reskin that dropped a few things, which was sort of somewhat underwhelming. I think. I'm not sure. I'm fairly certain we weren't just the only people who felt like it was underwhelming. Like, yeah, it dropped a few things, but you could have done so much more with that, which would have been amazing. I've eventually and finally gotten one of the chests. I know that that Crown got one of the chests. Have you gotten one of the chests yet, Ace?
Nope. Nope. I've killed
You haven't yet. Okay.
thousand plus of those fucking rabbits. But no.
I've killed like
No.
400 and something. I make sure that like I'm always like consuming one of those like totem, like rabbit foot totem things to sort of increase my my luck. Whether that's a factor, whether that's not a factor, I have no idea. There are people out there that have killed multiple thousands, like I'm saying like 3,000, 4,000, and haven't got it yet, which is just insane. and I really feel really sorry about that. Like I feel almost like someone at AGS should look at how many have dropped for people who or look at who have killed the most without it dropping, and essentially being like, sorry, you didn't get the drop, but here you go. Like, 'cause
Yeah.
that's just ridiculous.
If you have taken
um
the time to go grind 1,000 fucking rabbits, you should get the chest just on principle. Like,
yeah, like there should be a point as to which, like, it goes like, I mean, you've ground enough, like, here you go, like,
I watched a
but
guy
yeah.
get it within the first 10. Like, it was like,
That's
boom,
depressing.
done.
That is
Oh, I guess
depressing.
I'm done with this event. It's like,
That is
fuck that
depressing.
guy. Fuck that guy particularly. Like,
You do realize he was using streamer luck, right, at that particular
yeah.
point in time. Like, you should just start up a stream and just be like, I'm starting the stream up specifically for streamer luck so I can get this drop, and
As we
you'll probably
showcased
get it.
last week, we are not included in that streamer luck.
Yeah,
Because
it
we
seems
did
to be
not
the
get
case.
chosen for the war. Although there was a second
I
war
was going
against
to
the
cover
devs
that
last week.
actually. Yeah, I was going to cover that. Like, so, like, moving on from that, like, we had the next PTR patch was teased, but it's mainly just bug fixes. But essentially, it's showcasing that AGS are like following through on the promise that the whole bug fix February kind of patch was not just a one-off.
Mhm.
There was also, as we had alluded to, there was also a PTR, a pre-test Realm War event to assist AGS in sort of like resolving and looking and fixing issues with wars. And by the way, Plagues, thank you very much for that subscription. You're an absolute legend. Um,
Oh, thank you.
yeah, so I think everybody who like went into that sort of PTR war event was expecting that there was going to be a war and that was it. And a lot of people who weren't like picked for that war, I think a fair amount of them like left because they thought like, oh, well, I didn't get into that war, fair enough. Like, I'm not going to be able to get into that event. They ended up having a second war after that, like, and we were able to get into the second war and like, run about and shoot people. I decided because I like to have the game hate me more and more, that I was going to go full dex and use a bow, because the bow is not is definitely OP, right? Anybody? Eula? No? Okay. Yeah, the bow's broken. The bow is broken in terms of like it's terrible, right? And it was a good showcase as to like how bad it is. And yeah, I did you record yours? Because I think I recorded mine. We might have to do something
I
with that.
did record it. So here's the thing about the
We,
test
we might
server.
try and do something with that.
The first half of my recording is me playing with like basically all of my points into strength, despite being a mage, because I wasn't intending to actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
And no con whatsoever, none.
No, and
So
and you
like
were
the
there
second
going
half
like,
of the
why
thing
do
goes
people
way
kill me?
better.
Yeah.
Which is
Because you were
funny because
complaining
we
about the
still
fact that
won.
like people. Yeah.
Yeah.
We definitely won that one.
And we actually played on the side with the New World devs. So
Strangely enough, yeah.
we won with them, even though they got fucking stumped on the first one.
Just lightly, just a little bit. And then obviously, the last real kind of like information was, about from like last week in terms of in New World news, was that server mergers were set to occur later that week, which is going to be the Friday. Which, yeah, if you were on a server that got merged into another one, then you were very much told that was going to happen every single time that you logged in. So yeah. And like Lost Ark news. Do you want to do the Lost Ark news?
Yeah. So Lost Ark, we covered that the. What's that?
This is just so you guys know, if you guys are like new to coming in new, like this is the what we were talking about previously. So if you want to check those out, like it's on the VOD from last week. But we talked about Lost Ark and Ace. What did we talk about there?
Yeah, so the G4 TV PvP Invitational Tournament is underway. They are a gaming broadcaster network that hosts things like PvP tournaments and other gaming related shows and media. So go check them out if you want to see some kind of high end PvP. It's really kind of it's a really cool setup. Really interesting content. The Lost Ark PvP scene is a lot of knockups is basically the meta. Like anything you can do to stagger your opponent, and then
Yeah.
dumpster them with as much damage from everybody else, is kind of like how to play the PvP side of things. In case you were wondering, it's not about raw damage. Definitely not about raw damage. It's about kicking. It's about literally putting a guy on the ground and then kicking them while they're on the ground.
Yeah. What I found interesting about the coverage and the way that like the PvP kind of arenas sort of play is that like from a spectator's viewpoint, like you can see the entire arena and what's going on, but like as a player, you don't get to see the full arena. Like you get a much more sort of like zoomed in kind of view of your character, so you don't get to see the full like height of the arena. So there could be, there's a potential that you can be flanked like top and bottom, and have like someone come in and attack you from behind, essentially sort of flanking you around. It's not something that is obvious to that is super obvious um to people playing at that particular point in playing that arena sort of thing. It is something that obviously is a skill that you should develop, because if you don't see all three of the enemies that you're fighting, like you should be expecting that like one of those enemies is trying to flank you around, or potentially that one of the enemies had died and is waiting for his respawn, right? So um I just found that interesting when you look at from an audience perspective, when you see the entire kind of like the entire arena, that like the players don't actually get that same sort of viewpoint. Their viewpoint is much more sort of like restricted in that regard. Yeah, that was interesting to me anyway.
Yeah. So additionally, they had a small patch that was basically designed to just do some back-end changes to help with the upcoming changes coming in the major patch, which we'll talk about later in the show. From there, we talked about some Star Citizen news, where 3.17 had moved into a non-restricted public test universe. It has some problems. It is
Yeah, it does.
It went from very stable to not so stable, and there's a lot they need to do to make it so that it will be the normal version of the game. I know a lot of people get like the testing phases a little bit confused. The game is in alpha. They do have a public test universe beyond that. So there's the alpha version of the game, and then there's the PTU version of that version of the newer version. So yeah. That way, there's always a stable version of the game to play.
Yeah,
stable-ish.
Then there's like restricted versions of even those, like for parties, and also for like subscribers. So like, and yes, you can be a subscriber to CIG, and and you can be a backer to CIG and have a package and not be a subscriber, or you could be a subscriber and then there's all sorts of, like, essentially CIG was like, so how are we going to monetize this game? And the answer was yes, essentially. Because why the fuck not, right? Why should we? Why
on that topic, I'll have a new shirt by next week, because they were clearing out all of their excess items, and my Chancellor's Club shirt will be in the mail, or it's in the mail already. It'll be here by the show next week. So
I
It's a
expect to
nice,
see that at some
fancy
point.
performance polo. It was supposed to be $50, but I got it for like 25. So
Nice.
I'll
That's pretty
call that
cool.
a good deal, especially like a embroidered shirt.
Oh
And
yeah, for
it's not
sure. It's
covered in a
embroidered.
bunch of things. It's just a lion in the gold logoed lion in the square thing. Um,
Not bad.
so past that, they also added a bunch of ships to be purchasable in game that have prior not been something that you could buy. At least in game, now they're available for you to purchase. These include like the Ares Ion Inferno, the C2, and a number of other ships.
Yeah.
Um, from
And
there,
we
we
had a
also
bit of
talked
a
about the difference between in game purchases versus out of game IRL store pledges and upgrades, what insurance is, and why it matters in the long run for Star Citizen. Like, there's a reason that I have thrown in a ton of money into Star Citizen, and it is because I have a lot of value associated with the game. And when I play with my bigger ships when the game comes out, I want that ship back when it dies.
exactly,
Um,
and that's the important aspect of
yeah.
the big difference between buying a ship with insurance and just purchasing a ship in game. Like
Mhm.
that's the difference between actually like giving IRL cash to CIG.
Yeah. Now, for as far as the test universe goes, like the current live version of the game, it's in alpha. If you buy a ship, it's still associated to your account, until the game launches. So like if you buy a ship with in-game credits, so like you can still fly it
Yeah,
multiple times, it can get blown up. Like
yeah,
it's
you
not
can you
it
could recoil click
that's
it
not an
or
issue
it'll
in
come
the
back.
short term because these
Yeah,
aren't cheap ships either. Like some of these ships cost millions of credits, like that take a while to actually earn. So like you're getting it for the rest of until the next time they wipe. So like
yeah,
they
because
often
we're
go
talking
several
about like
years without wiping. So
yeah, because we're
yeah.
talking about an alpha here. So like obviously when it finishes being an alpha and actually releases, I know that does sound like the 38th of March, right? It does sound like an improbable kind of period of time that will is uh, purported to occur at some point in time, right? Um, but eventually, when it does come out, when the game does launch as an actual full game, like you're not going to have insurance in game. When you purchase a ship, when you just buy a ship with in-game currency, like it doesn't come with insurance, and so when you lose it, you can't just press a button and it comes back. The only time when that does come with insurance is if you actually have either purchased insurance by giving CIG money for game packages and stuff and ship upgrades, which is one of the reasons why people do give money and do purchase ship upgrades, or you actually purchase a ship insurance in game, which probably will be quite expensive, I imagine, in game for in game currency.
Oh yeah.
But when you have unlike when you have like unlimited ship insurance, like that
Yeah,
is
your life. So there's multiple different packages
yeah,
of insurance
lifetime.
as
Sorry,
well.
yeah,
So
lifetime.
for instance, I strive to get lifetime insurance on most of my ships. There are
Yeah.
some of my ships that I have 10 years worth of insurance, and during Fleet Week, which theoretically should happen next month, if they're consistent year on year,
Hmm.
during Fleet Week, I need to convert. I actually purchased a smaller ship with an LTI token on it that I'm going to be upgrading to a much larger ship that I currently own, but I'm going to recoup my money from that into basically Star Citizen bucks to use again to upgrade a different package to allow me to get my LTI token on a much larger ship. That'll be my Apollo triage, which naturally, if you're sending in a medical support ship into a battlefield, it's probably going to see some fire. So
You're gonna come back with some holes in the wings for sure.
yeah,
But yeah, if you guys want to like get a bit, some more conversation, more sort of thing around all of that kind of stuff, like that was, essentially all of the stuff, all of the topics and stuff that we covered on our previous show, and that is on the VOD on the channel if you want to go back and watch that. But we should probably jump in and talk about this week's news, right? Starting
Yes.
obviously with New World.
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry. So
All right.
Tuesday is downtime to fix a few immediate issues. There was a patch today, or there was a patch that came out yesterday. Apologies.
Yesterday.
Um, a lot of us installed it today because I had a busy day yesterday. Wow, I get the hiccups now. This is a bad time to get the hiccups.
I can quickly go through it while you're doing while you're like dealing with hiccups. So there were a few things that were fixed. The forum post states that the collision underneath I'm going to butcher this particular name, but Nishatan's platform has been adjusted to prevent players from falling into unintended areas. They fixed a number of issues with Nishatan's encounter, causing him to go dormant. Hopefully, he now isn't dormant, and he does attack when needs to attack, and retreat if he needs to retreat. And I'm fairly certain he doesn't, but they fixed an issue where Isabella wasn't able to attack players if they stood in certain areas. They walled off a spot where players could jump down and re-enter the arena, which was, probably not a good thing to have players be able to do. And also they fixed an issue where certain elemental creatures granted incorrect awards when gathered. Say for example, Weirwood from, certain wolves. But yeah, that was the patch that happened yesterday.
Yeah. From there,
Yeah.
they also started and I'm going to change the screen for this.
Ah.
They also started a kind of home decorating contest. So make sure to go
Mm-hmm.
enter that, especially if that's your jam. Here's the Twitter post for it. Uh, there's a couple of rules, but basically, if you like to decorate the crap out of your house in game, now's your opportunity to um, reap the rewards.
Yeah, and you,
So
you you get the choice of basically you get to choose some prizes if you are the winner, essentially.
yeah.
Well, I think they'll draw 3 winners. I think something along those lines. But yeah.
So
Are you going
they'll
into
draw
terms
three.
and
That I'm
conditions?
not going to read through the terms and conditions. Wanted to make sure there
It's
wasn't
about to
anything
be
else there.
like, God damn,
Uh,
that's gonna be a dry
yeah.
fucking show.
Amazon Games reserves the rights and privileges to end the contest at any time and/or declare no winner.
It just makes people like feel like it's some kind of scam or
yeah.
something. Yeah.
So
Anyway,
from
in a
from
strange
there,
set of circumstances, New World has been nominated for a People's Choice Best User Experience in the Webby Awards. If you guys don't know what the Webby Awards are, it's like an industry-driven award ceremony. Um, yeah, it's kind of up against some stiff competition. There's an indie game called 12 Minutes, which is pretty good. It's it's pretty damn good in terms of like it's kind of it's user experience that way. Um, I don't know how you guys feel about like user experience. I can kind of feel like the user experience of being banned and then trying to contest that banning has been fraught with some serious situations and some serious like player um, uh, vitriol and feedback to possibly not make them be the current favorite for best user experience, but like we never know. They might win it, they might not. I have no idea, but it is a People's Choice Award. So because it's a People's Choice Award, it is voted by the public. So if you do want to vote, you can go to. Thank you very much, Ace. You can go to there. Ace put it in chat to vote how you see fit. But yeah, there's a bit of a kind of weird thing because like the webbies are kind of strange. People there's sort of sites and things that will basically argue about the fact that it's kind of like the Oscars of of the game of like the games industry, when I really don't think that is the case.
It's very much a pay to play award
Yeah,
ceremony where like to be
you have
considered
to.
you got to run a campaign, and that's not cheap.
Well, it's not only that, but you literally have to pay the webbies to have your campaign considered.
Yeah. Which
So not
again
even
is not
nominated, you don't
uncommon
just get
for a
like.
lot of larger award shows, but like
Yeah.
most people don't know this about the Oscars, is that like it's not just that the thing came out. All of the people involved in it are paying fees to the Academy. So like they're members and all of that. So like all of those, like they're getting money out of it regardless. And on top of that, like the campaigns that movies put on, and producers will put on to try and get awards, and try to push for more awards for their product, is actually very substantial and a incredibly large business for them. Like, just putting that out there. Like, don't think that like there's a reason that you very rarely see the indie movie getting best picture.
Yeah.
And it's because they don't have this money. just putting it out there. Now, the other funny side of this is you would assume that in the Oscars that eventually the Marvel universe would can get one. But, apparently money is not all of it. But, again, I digress.
If it was, they would have got it by now.
Yeah. If it was, they would have many. But apparently if you work on, superhero films, you're not worthy of an Oscar. Which is just bullshit.
There are some directors out there that think that Marvel films aren't films. They're not worthy of being called films.
Also, I've seen some of the movies, or most of the movies, that they've referred to as Best Picture.
Was that Francis Ford Coppola?
Yeah, I've seen a bunch of those that I'm not thrilled with. So yeah, I don't know if this is the category I would pick. Like in terms of like user engagement, I think they're very good at that. Like, I don't know if user experience, like. So I also don't know what their definition is for user experience.
So I was trying to think of a quote, and it wasn't a Francis Ford Coppola one. It was a Martin Scorsese quote, and he said that Marvel movies aren't cinema. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
See, what he doesn't know is that I'm not gonna, like, Martin Scorsese was a huge fan of The Irishman. I'm not gonna go to the theaters for a 3.5 hour long movie. Sorry, ain't gonna happen. If I want to go watch explosions and all of that, like, then I'm going to the theater. But you're not getting me into the theater with The Irishman. That's in my opinion, that's not cinema.
How was Return of the King for you?
For Lord of the Rings?
Yes.
Wonderful.
How did your ass feel at the end of it?
Tired. But like, well, here's the thing, there's a certain amount of like gravity with that movie, like, that you're excited, like there's a lot going on, it's got the big battle scenes, like it's an experience that has to be experienced in the fullness that is the silver screen. Like, you have to be engulfed in it, like that is cinema versus like yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and you guys all know what I'm talking about. Like, there are certain movies that you just want to see with Dolby Atmos surround sound, and there are certain movies that you just fucking don't. Like, you're gonna wait until it comes
And
out on Netflix and watch it on your fucking couch. Like,
and I would say yes, we are going on a bit of a tangent here, but like I think it's understandable tangent. I'm just saying that like my issue with Return of the King was the fact that like great, all has been saved, etc., etc. Why are we going at like 75% sort of film speed, like for half the kind of like shit when it comes to the ending? Because like you know, my ass hurts. This has gone along for too long, and I kind of want to get going back home, sort of thing.
yeah, yeah.
But it's just like, oh god, the film's not over. Like when it sort of does that sort of like the slow sort of like fade to black, and then you're like, oh good god, like the credits are going to come back up now, and then it doesn't. Then the next scene comes up, and you're like, oh for fuck's sake, Jesus Christ.
At least it doesn't also have like an end of credits scene. Like,
Oh, that you have to wait
it
till the
doesn't
end
pull
of
the
it.
Marvel movie where it's like you were here for the whole
I
show,
have to
you're
watch
watching the
end credit
credits,
scene.
and then you're gonna watch
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we digress.
Anyway. Yes.
So last Friday,
I think we
or last
sufficiently
Friday,
talked
according to the
about-
notes here.
I think we sufficiently talked about the Webbies.
Yep. So last Friday, according to our notes here, AGS released another developer update video with some very juicy bits of information. We're not gonna bring it up on stream here, but we are gonna talk about them. They did a deep dive into the upcoming update. There were 600 polish fixes and 900 more serious bug fixes. So there was a lot of things that they were on the back burner that they finally got to fix.
Yeah, they fixed a bunch of things, but like clearly they weren't kind of like oh, we fixed a bunch of stuff, now we can just like relax and not fix a bunch of stuff. Like they went and they they understood that there's still a whole bunch of things they still need to fix, and so they went and did a polish on 600 different areas, and also fixed 900 more serious bugs. So that's pretty cool.
They talked about the upcoming events. The Corrupted Rabbit themed event lasted more than just the Easter dropping loot. The consumable luck tokens, the Corrupted Rabbit storage chest. And of course, they dropped Diamond Gypsum, so there's another way to increase your gear score there.
I would say that there is a fourth one in this like loot dropping thing that they didn't include, and that is like the Lucky Rabbit's feet. I say feet because it's been dropping like crazy. Like I think I have like 8 or 9 of them at this point in time.
Yes, I think I've got like 14, but then again, I've killed like 1,000 rabbits, so like
yeah,
Now, it might just be that, like, it's not that often where we kill that many rabbits, and we're just not used to it dropping because, we're not killing that many rabbits all that often. That said, now we've got a bunch of them, and I would expect luck trophies to probably drop off in the short term.
I expect luck drop. I expect sort of like the lower level luck trophies to basically cost fuck all, essentially.
Yeah.
Or not even be for sale because, like, everybody can make them.
So there are more upcoming dev videos featuring more info on upcoming events. They're obviously, we saw the roadmap. They're continuing development of the game. So if anybody thinks that the game's dead or anything like that, please see yourself to your local psychiatrist because clearly you can't read, or maybe go find a second grade teacher. They can they can interpret the roadmap for you.
They said that they were going to have a summer event. They said that they have a summer event, like, in the works kind of thing. So looking forward to that.
Yes. They also talked about future development here is going to look into PvP. They realized that obviously there's been a lot of focus on the PvE side of things, fixing that, making it a positive experience. But the PvP side of things needs a solid look. So update after this next one here will be very PvP focused. PvP rewards tracked, PvP progression systems. A new currency will drop by PvP deaths, referred to as PvP salt.
Yeah, I'm wondering, like, because I kind of feel like they could do, like, salty tears, or like a vial of salty tears, like you have like vials of salty tears or something like that. Like that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
PvP salt as a name for like this new currency is like come
I
on
would
guys,
imagine it'll stay
get a
somewhere in
bit
the
creative
ballpark of
on
salt.
this.
Like it'll probably be
Like
like
salty
vials of
tears.
salt, or salty water, or salty tears, or something like that. Like it'll be something like,
Yeah,
you can assume the name will somewhat change, but it'll probably be in the
yeah,
ballpark of
yeah.
salt because they seem pretty happy with that. The 3v3 peanut
3v3 3v3
try
PvP
to do three
arenas.
words in one
Let's
there.
actually
The
let's try and
3v3
keep this PG, man.
PvP arenas available
Here we go.
via the map screen anywhere in the game. It'll be best of 5. You can solo queue. Ring of Fire reduction in fightable arenas that reduces over time. Um,
Yeah, so essentially,
that's an interesting
if the
thing right
game
there.
if the game is going on a bit and people are trying to be like all evasive and shit, like like you have one guy who's like, "Aha, I'm just gonna run about and be evasive, and they won't be able to kill me." Yeah, well, if you get like 6 people in the arena where they are all doing that same thing, like it's gonna be a long game, right? And
Yeah,
so obviously, if the game kind of the if the match progresses for a lengthy period of time, there's apparently going to be a ring of fire that kind of reduces the play area. So, like, you see it in sort of other games. You see it in other game types, like things like PUBG do that sort of same sort of thing. I think the ring of fire kind of thing they did in Call of Duty. I think in some way. Um, I think it was Call of Duty, something like that. That they did the actual ring of fire kind of thing.
what this could
But
lead
yeah,
to
like,
could be very interesting, by the way.
oh
With
yeah,
this
it
Ring of
could be
Fire
interesting.
mechanic, could easily turn this into a potential uh, battle royale.
It could be a battle royale style. Like it is
Yeah,
definitely sort of like a battle royale kind of like themed sort of mechanic, as it were. I don't think they're going to make it optional. It's going to be one of those things that forces the conclusion of a fight if a fight goes on for too long,
yeah.
essentially.
Now, the unfortunate part about a closing in arena is that it, unfortunately, if you're like a ranged person, is gonna screw you. Like,
Oh yeah, yeah, it's going to screw you.
um, but if you're a melee person, hey, so if
Good
you if you
times.
if you're gonna win as ranged, win early. If you're going to push to the
I'll tell you
end,
what.
make sure you have
I'll
at
tell you
least
what. If
one
it's
PV, at least one melee weapon.
be interesting to see how much damage it actually does to somebody. Like if they're outside of that area and they're in the sort of ring of fire. Right? Because if you can like stun somebody and just like roll back, and they're like just stunned in the ring of fire, they might actually, you never know. It could be like an automatic elimination, or it could be like significant damage or something like that. Like, be interesting to
Mhm.
see. But yeah, we'll obviously be seeing that because that is something that will be coming not in this immediate new update that's on the PTU at the moment, but this will be the update that comes after that. So yeah.
So they
Um
also talked about the expedition finder.
oh yes,
They
yes, yes.
define and request roles for an expedition. So basically, you can start a lobby where you go, okay, here's the cons, here's the build I want. I want a healer. I want DPS tank. Like, so you can pick that, and then it will go out and look for people who are queued up as those things. Um, the lister can review players' stats, weapons, and masteries, and etc. before accepting them in. Once they're in, like this is still kind of like an OPR type thing where like it's a lobby, but it's not really a lobby. Like you can still do stuff in the open world as you're building the lobby out. Um,
Yeah,
only the lister
because it
needs to
was
be at the dungeon.
yeah, and that's the really important kind of thing is like this aside from the person who's actually listing for sort of to find people to run an expedition with them. Like everybody else can be doing their thing anywhere else on the map. Like they just need to be, find the expedition finder in the menu and sort of like check out like what's being requested, and essentially sort of like uh, request to join that particular expedition with that particular kind of group, and then obviously the lister will be able to check through your stats and check through your like weapon masteries and stuff, and accept you or decline you, either way. But like the only the lister of that, only the person who's looking for you know or like setting up the group needs to be at the actual dungeon, which is good.
Um,
That's an understandable thing, because like you need to have the key to be able to open the dungeon. You need to be at the dungeon to be able to enter the key.
they also mentioned that many of these mechanics are eventually going to be aimed to be regional queues. Um, so like
Oh yeah, nice.
there is an effort towards that. Like it is obviously the future goal. That is of course a system that takes a hell of a lot more coding.
Yeah.
Because you're transitioning data. You have to create, you basically have to create a system that transitions data to connect from two servers to store it temporarily but not cause any problems to the other one, and then the results of that need to be translated back to their original servers. It's not as easy as it sounds if you don't already have it built.
Yeah, and you need to
So
create that instance where everybody's playing together as well. Like, and if those players are on different servers or maybe even like different regions, like I don't think there's going to
I
do a
think it's going
different
to stay
region kind
within
of
the
thing, but
same
like just a
region, but
server. Same region but
yeah,
different servers. Like you need to be able to host that and be able to sort of transfer information to and from those servers, because obviously when somebody comes out of that, like they come out of that with like with various different loot and rewards and that kind of stuff, and that needs to be translated to their server. So
yes,
if you don't have that stuff like already, if you don't have those systems already in place to be able to do that, like you need to build those systems out.
absolutely. Um,
Hmm.
so then from there, they actually took a bunch of community questions, and these were some good ones to take. The
Yeah.
next
So
update will include the major groundwork for regional transfers.
yeah.
They didn't state that it
So
would be in, but at least like the groundwork so that they can start testing it you know
yeah,
much more vigorously.
I think it was Katie. I think it's her name. Like, but she basically said that like the regional the groundwork for it's going to happen, but like they think they want to basically have the regional transfers up and running like soon after that, like very soon after that. So
Mhm.
obviously soon is very much an abstract kind of term, and that could mean anything to anybody, but like I'm fairly certain that when they say soon, they don't mean like soon, 6 months soon, but more soon, like 1 week soon, or maybe even less than that. So
Oh,
yeah, be
um,
interesting.
so that's a really good one. They're going to introduce paid server transfers, which if anybody is
Hmm.
upset that they're adding paid transfer servers, like crawl out from under the rock and take a look at any other game. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
What we can hope is that they understand that these things should not be overly expensive. I would assume they're going to be in the
Hmm.
ballpark of $5 to $15, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I have no idea, but like I imagine it's probably not going to cost too much.
Yeah.
You know,
It's gonna be
uh,
something that like you're not gonna want to do it all the time, but if you need it, it's there. Um, at
yeah,
most
exactly.
$20, but it's you're not really getting other than the ability to move around. This will also create a lot of opportunity for people to like rejoin friends or switch around on servers or get off of servers that they're currently on. Then again, there's some of us that still have our two original tokens because we were exceedingly patient,
Hmm.
um, or just too lazy to switch. Uh, you know, either one.
That
Like,
could be the case too. Either way, like
yeah.
you
Or
can
you were
make your
just away from the
assumptions.
game. Like there are some people that took a break. They got their two tokens and they weren't playing the
Hmm.
game at the time, but they still got their tokens. So
I mean, so the
yeah.
interesting thing as well is like if this is going to be in the store, right? Like, um, this could come under, say, for example, like not being if it's under the store, then essentially you're going to be purchasing Marks of Fortune in order to actually buy server transfer tokens, right?
Theoretically, yeah.
One of the other kind of things is you may, if you want to, spend money on that, right? You may, you may like, open up your wallet, or whatever, like transfer some money from PayPal in order to be able to, buy Marks of Fortune in order to buy a server transfer token. The other thing is that the new world, what is it? Then the new world Twitch loot, right? Like not the drops, but the loot that you can get, that you can claim, generally tends to come with Marks of Fortune. So, you know, depending on how you want to utilize those Marks of Fortune, every time that New World does a Twitch loot drop, or sort of like does new Twitch loot, um, you could potentially be getting enough Marks of Fortune for a server transfer.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's another way that essentially, uh, you know, AGS are going to be giving you, the option for you to purchase a server transfer for free, essentially. So, yeah, there's that.
They acknowledged that the bow is not up to par with the other weapons.
I found that out. I found that out the hard way in that war.
Yeah. It needs a little bit. It needs some TLC for sure.
Yes.
So it was good to see them recognize that that is not in balance with where it should be. So they acknowledge that the bow is not up to par with other weapons. They're working to improve and update its perks and abilities. And yeah, they also had a whole section on kind of final thoughts, covering some statistics.
Yes, because they're Amazon, they have statistics after 6 months. It seems.
I would have liked to have seen, like, these are good statistics. Don't get me wrong. I'm a data guy. There are different statistics that I care about. They're probably not going to share those statistics though. So, but what we know so far over the last 6 months, there have been 33,427 wars fought.
Obviously,
that might have
increased. That might have increased since since they aired that particular, or since they recorded that, because obviously wars happen. But yeah,
there have been nearly 8 million expeditions run. 8 million expeditions. That's a lot of expeditions. Nice. Captain Thorpe is the deadliest boss in the game, and has killed 4.8 million players.
That's cool. That's quite the that's quite the kill rap.
Scott admits to being many of those. I can tell you that when I was going through there, I wiped a party probably, like, the first time we ran it, we wiped probably 25 times, and we turned around to our like level 60s in our guild and we're like, please, for the love of God, help us in this dungeon. Like, get me out of here.
You guys were having a bad time.
Yeah, it was real bad.
I ran the depths like a little later after you guys, and it was a little. I think everybody was in a little bit better of a state to sort of run the depths at that point, that particular point in time. So yeah,
and there have been 413 million total player deaths. 413 million times people have died in a game that does not have like lethal fall damage. Like,
Can you imagine how many people would have died if they had lethal fall damage? Oh, good God.
There would be so many. Like, there would be so many. Too many.
Oh yeah. And so something, a little kind of piece, a little thing that happened actually today was that AGS are apparently, from the request from players, overwhelming request, I believe, is that they're actually increasing the number of simultaneous mutated expeditions that are occurring on servers to 2, from 1, obviously, So that's always good for people who run mutated expeditions and want want to essentially have some variety when in the mutated expeditions. You can now run two different forms or
Yeah.
two different expeditions in a variety of different uh, a variety of different sort of difficulty levels, as it were.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty much like, as far as I can remember, as far as as far as I've had my ear to the ground, like that's been essentially most of the New World news so far this week. I don't know whether anything else that has like piqued your interest, as it were.
Um, and that's pretty much everything as far as New World goes. There was a office hours today. It
Oh
was
yes,
earlier
yes.
today during our pre-show. So like that was an opportunity.
Yeah,
They do that every time they release a dev update video. So like there will be a time where they take questions and stuff like that. Um,
yeah. I think I asked Trev Snor when the like on the Friday, I think it was, when they released the dev update, whether they were going to do like a watch party. And there were a few people who weren't around until like then the next week kind of thing. So um, he said that they were probably going to do something next week in that regard. So obviously that was today.
yeah.
Yeah.
So let's transition. We're going to keep the
Mm-hmm.
stream in the New World channel, but we're going to
Okay.
talk about Lost Ark for a bit here. Um,
Okay.
in the last hour, there's been some disappointing and then exciting news. Uh, so
It's a roller
the
coaster.
the April update, which includes South Vern, a new continent, a new class, the Glavier, and a whole bunch of other stuff, has been was aiming to be released tomorrow.
Yeah.
They came out on the forums and stated during the final testing for the alpha update, our QA team found some critical issues requiring us to delay the April update while we work to resolve them. This continues on, but less than an hour later, Trevzer's back on the forums. Good news, everyone. Our team was able to quickly identify and resolve the issues. We will release on the 21st as originally planned. Downtime for the update will begin on April 21st at 12 a.m. Pacific Time, 8 a.m. UTC. It is expected to last 8 hours. That is quite the update.
That is quite the downtime for an update. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
that is a sizable downtime. They may need to work on that. So that is of course good news. What I'm not going to do is I'm not going to go through the entire set of patch notes because they're quite long. But we are going to talk about what's in there as kind of like the Spark Notes version.
Yes.
The April update is, of course, a large update. This is a feature content update. This is an entire continent. This is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So as part of this, they are introducing a new class called the Glavier. The Glavier being a Naginata staff weapon type weapon. It's basically a blade on the end of a long pole. It is
Yeah.
a really cool class. Like I'm always a fan of pole arms. Like I used to do what's referred to as bothing, which is basically like foam swords, where you basically just beat the crap out of each other and have fun. I was always the guy with the pole arm that would do like the large sweeping moves that everybody hated because I'd sweep your legs out from under you, you know. Or like I
Oh.
could attack you from half a mile away because I can I've got a 9-foot pole to work with. Um, so yeah. So from there,
Oh,
the
you
story is
should
going to
quite like
continue.
that class then when that comes out then.
I am very much I have already prepared gold for this to come out. It is going to knowledge I don't know if I'm gonna knowledge transfer or if I'm just gonna play this weekend.
Okay.
up to level 50. Like I might. Um,
Just to really get used to the actual fighting
I'm
style.
probably gonna knowledge transfer it while I'm at work. Um,
Okay.
'Cause I work from home tomorrow, so when this comes out, at around 10 o'clock, I'll be able to play it by 6 o'clock when I get off work. If everything goes according
Okay.
to plan, like that could work. Yeah.
Yeah, that could work.
Either way, I've got the gold for it. I'm gonna. This will be my 7th character. Because I just started up a striker earlier this week. He's now level 50 as well.
How are you liking the striker, by the way? Because like one of the striker was one of the other kind of
Much
like one
more
of the choices that I went.
technical. It's much more
Hmm?
technical. Like I
Yeah.
like that it's continuous DPS. It's less like it's a build up. So like you're trying to build into your combo to get your main attacks. So I like that. I think that once I get some gems to produce some cooldowns, it'll be even better. But I gotta get him out of tier 1 before I can do that. So
yeah.
yeah. So
Okay.
from here, the Battle for the Throne update is what it's being referred to. So that's the update. This is the Lost Ark April update, Battle for the Throne of Chaos. So we've already talked about the Glavier. This is going to be the new continent, which is South Vern. North Vern is the area where you kind of land when you hit level 50. South Vern is, by contrast, you need to be 1300 plus to be in South Vern. It is a high level territory. It is obviously the most recent addition to the story that will continue there. It will have all of the quests that bring you all the way through South Vern. They are going to open up a Phaeton Power Pass as well for this. Players will receive a Phaeton Power Pass after completing Phaeton's main story quest Will during the event period, or if you've already finished the quest before the update, you'll get the Power Pass when the event starts. I've already done that. Thank God. I got it right off the break, or will get it right off the break.
The event concludes and you don't have it. You haven't completed it. Like that's what I'm wondering. Like,
yeah, the Power Pass will function like the Vern Power Pass is available to players in the launch version of Lost Ark. Once you've completed the storyline through that continent, you will be able to use it to bring an alternate character to that point in the game. With a Phaeton Power Pass, you'll be able to receive a 960 gear set. This is an event Power Pass that'll expire on June 30th. I don't like that. We're getting this tomorrow. I don't even have to pay for the update. Like, I don't even have to pay for the knowledge transfer. I can just straight up use this. Because I'll have it right away. Like, I could just pump my new class straight to 960.
Yeah.
Like,
so I'm there kind of like wondering, like, if like the capability of like somebody who is just got to 60 or just done the power pass kind of thing is able to get to that kind of point in enough time.
It is it's more than a 9-day window. It's April 21st through June 30th. So tomorrow through
2 months,
a month. Oh yeah, through 2 months. So you got plenty of time to get that power pass. Like, I've in as much time I've made it to tier 3. So like, it's very much doable. Something you could do. Yeah.
Okay.
Because you don't even have to get your character to tier 3 for that. That's just like halfway through tier 2.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
So yeah, that should be possible. Good
to know.
There's an express mission event. This new event will allow players to select one of their characters at combat level 50 that's under item level 1000 to do express missions. This character will be granted 301 gear and have an opportunity to complete express and bonus missions for significant honing and progression rewards. The mission would be split up into 4 sections corresponding to the major continents found in Tier 1 and Tier 2, North Vern, Rowendell, Yorn, Fenton, or Phaeton, each granting an abundance of materials relevant to that tier to help players progress, such as silver, honing materials, major potions, engravings, and much more. For newer players, we hope this will help them catch up to their friends while still learning Tier 1 and 2 and the game modes within them. For players already in Tier 3, this event can be used to quickly level up a new alternate character, maybe the new Glavier class. Completing all the new missions will grant a very impactful reward. So make sure to take advantages of this event while it's around. Like the Faint and Power Pass, the Express mission event will be around until June 30th. So you've got a while to use it. Basically, like, for those that don't know, alts is the name of the game when it comes to Lost Ark. You know, compared to New World, where one character can do everything, you very much want more alts. I have 6 now. Tomorrow I will have 7. They all have dailies that I don't run daily because no one's got that kind of time. But every time I do, I get meaningful really results out of them. Yeah.
The meme, ain't nobody got time for that. Yeah. really kind of works for that.
Like, because you've got dailies and you've got weeklies. Like, every week you need to run enough, you need to run your chaos dungeons, you need to run your guardian raids, you need to run for weeklies, you need to run your abyssal dungeons, and then your abyssal raids beyond that. There's a ton of stuff. And this is all not including all of the other horizontal content that you can do, like trying to unlock certain ships and islands, and there's so much to do in the game, guys. Like, yeah. So anyways, past this, there's gonna be some store updates. The Arc Pass. The Arc Pass adds new ways for players to earn meaningful rewards just by playing Lost Ark. With the Arc Pass, players can complete missions to progress their Arc Pass levels. With each level you reach, you'll earn rewards. The Arc Pass is completely free and grants a variety of helpful rewards, such as honing materials, selection chests, pirate coins, and even a mount. In addition to the regular free Arc Pass, players can purchase 2 additional levels, Premium and Super Premium, because apparently Super Premium Ultimate
Super Premium, I have issues with the Premium, and then Ultra Turbo Premium, and then Ultimate Turbo Super Street Premium.
Yeah. So then Super Street these both Premium add additional rewards to the rewards track. The Arc Pass progression, or the Arc Pass progress is roster wide as well. So you can
nice.
So you're not just tied to one character for it. You make progression by just doing stuff on all of your characters, which again, well, if you're like me and you'll have 7 characters,
you've got options there.
You've got options, right? Yeah. There are definitely classes that I don't like as much as other classes. Like,
yeah,
throwing that out there. So anyways, the Premium Arc Pass will add additional rewards at every level that players will earn alongside the free rewards. Some examples of this include more honing material selection chests, gems, rapport chests, and a Virtus pet. On top of the regular and premium rewards, the Super Premium Arc Pass layers in additional selection chests for the Noble Banquet skin collection, the Noble Banquet wallpaper, and some legendary rapport chests throughout the 30 levels of the Arc Pass. The Premium Pass can be acquired in the exchange for 1,500 royal crystals. Let me do some calculations here.
The Super Premium is 3,000, so twice as much. As is always the case, when it comes to a whole variety of different different currencies, they're always sort of slightly obfuscating how much those sorts of things cost
So,
IRL, right? So
um,
how much is the premium? Did you
so they
say?
say the premium pass can be purchased for 1,500 royal crystals. 1,500 crystals is annoyingly right in the middle of the $10 pack for 1,000 and the $20 pack for 2,200.
Well, yeah, I mean, of
Um,
course it's going to be like that.
and
That
even more
they made it
annoyingly,
like that.
the super premium appears to
Yeah,
fall between the $20 pack and the $50 pack at 3,000
yeah, at
crystals.
30. Yeah, that will
And the
be 30.
$50 pack is just shy of being able to uh, give you 2 months worth, or give you
Yeah,
or two or two of it, which is annoying.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
It's almost like they designed that to be
yeah.
too. Yeah,
I don't know about that
but
one.
y- this is kind of like
They may adjust their prices as well,
annoyingly,
so there's that.
yeah, and annoyingly, this is what generally tends to happen when it comes to you know when you can when they only offer when a game sort of like they offer packs for premium currency, like generally you get these situations where certain things will cost between certain packs. Like that's just how the industry has kind of evolved. Whether people
Mm-hmm.
like that, whether people don't like that. I don't like that, but
Yeah.
I guess it works.
So additionally, in general store updates, the Glavier special packages have been added, including the Graceful Monkey skin set. The Noble Banquet skin collection has also been added to the in-game store for players interested in purchasing separately from the Premium Arc Pass. Um,
Okay.
a few other minor store updates. Some item quantities have been adjusted in the Mary's Secret Shop, and a few new crystal bundles are available in the in-game store, which hopefully addresses the fact that they fucking aimed these, right in between the two. Hopefully, they will have a
Yeah,
one-to-one for both of these that will make fucking sense. Because if they
yeah, I
don't,
really do
you're
hope
gonna
so.
piss people like me off.
Yes.
Given I'm probably just gonna throw $100 and get the $100 one, so that I don't have to deal with it again. Um,
Yeah, maybe.
yeah. Free to play is more like temptation for rich people to um pay more money, because
Yeah.
especially, like, here's the thing. Yeah, I value, I'm gonna pull up my Steam here. I value a game in terms of $1 per hour. I'm
Okay.
not going to show my Steam library because reasons. um Mainly because I don't want you guys to know what my Steam account is, and all of that. But I have 339.6 hours in Lost Ark. Um, so, like, a decent amount of time played. At $1 per hour, I can justify spending a decent chunk of money on that. Um,
Yeah.
am I going to spend $300 on it? No. But am I probably going to get at least the premium pass? Probably. It
Yeah.
depends what's on it. Depends what's on it. If the skins looked like super dope for the ultra premium, like whatever the top one is, then maybe.
Yeah.
We don't know. We'll find out. Um, and I'm sure there's a whole bunch of other things that they fixed, but by far the most important one to the community appears to have been the addition of a new 25-day track of new daily login rewards, because apparently logging in without a daily login reward is fucking tragic and akin to torture, because people are so accustomed to getting shit from the game developers for free that it's like, why people like
I
this
did.
this
Yeah,
has become like
I
a
did think it
major
was
point of
funny.
contention in the Lost Ark community. Like,
Like,
what the
where is
hell?
my free shit? Like,
Yeah,
is essentially like, why are you not giving me appropriate free shit all the time? Like,
yeah,
what the fuck is going on? And for whatever reason, they decided, like, a lot of people decided that, like, this is this is Amazon's fault or Amazon Games'
Yeah.
fault. It's like, no, they are the publisher, yeah, but they don't determine like as and when the sort of like the login rewards,
Well,
occur.
and like the
Like this is
ridiculous part of this
very much the
is
ballpark of of like you know
so like the
what?
ridiculous part of this is they don't wait to complain. Like there is a new
Oh, okay,
25-day
yeah.
track. 26 days in, you will have people livid that they didn't get their free shit. Like absolutely pissed. And it's like most of us are still at like 19 because we missed a few days. Like, like that's what the
Mm-hmm.
devs are counting on. Like, our bad. Like, but what realistically, what they should do is they should just come out with like a 45-day one and then just have it refresh every time they do a major update. Where it's like, you're never getting that 45 days. Fuck you.
Everyone's like,
It's
I'm
like
gonna get
just a
the
creative
45.
way to
Oh
be like,
damn!
screw you. Yeah.
Just like that endless sort of like grind up like fucking Sisyphus, right? Yeah, just like
Yeah.
endlessly sort of like hopefully getting that final day and oh well, no wait, it's been refreshed. Like fuck.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh
from here, there's more.
yes.
Obviously they're continuing to fix all kinds of issues. I'm not going to go into all the fixes. If you guys want to see the release notes, they are right here.
Mm-hmm.
Please feel free to check them out. It's a good opportunity to check them out. But let's switch gears again and let's talk about some Star Citizen.
Okay.
So,
All right.
there has been some improvements to the 3.17 PTU patch that has occurred, including some preliminary desync fixes. Overall, desync appears to have been solved in the 3.17 patch, but
Yeah.
a number of other challenging issues have been coming up. And they if you watch the release schedule and you watch the like consistent updates that they've been pushing, they patch the game twice a week.
Yeah.
Like
And they
they
release
yeah.
information about those patches and those what they're doing, what they're including in those patches, like quite a lot of detail in actual
Yeah.
fact, like more so than any other game. Like we've talked about like New World and about Lost Ark in terms of like patching and what they're adding and stuff like that and what they're fixing. Like we could go into the meat of the like changes that that CRG have been kind of doing to the Lost Ark PTU patch, but like a lot of it gets very technical and a lot of it gets full of jargon kind of and like very technical kind of like definitions of words and of systems and stuff, and like I don't think that is something that you guys want to listen to as such, but like so we kind of précis and sort of like you know essentially kind of give you the broad strokes as it were, right?
Mhm. So
um
this basically like they're hoping that 3.17 is going to be a pretty solid addition. There's a lot of mechanics that are being added, including ship to ship refueling and all of that. Like there's a lot of really cool
mm,
stuff coming. That
yeah.
said, more is to come. So Gen 12 graphics rendering, the Gen 12 graphics rendering pipeline will be at least implemented in a very limited way in 3.17. The Gen 12 pipeline is a key component to implementing Vulkan API, which, for those that don't know, Vulkan API is an alternative choice to DirectX. Um,
Yeah.
and it's generally considered a little bit more like easy to use. I guess it's a little bit more like
It's kind of
modular that
it's
you
a
can like take and remove bits of it and
yeah,
replace it with
and
things.
I think that's like probably one of the most sort of appealing bits of it, because like if it's more modular, then it means that like CIG can go in and like augment certain things, take things out, like refactor them, put them back in, kind of thing, and that helps with keeping Star Citizen sort of like fresh and updated, and running like better and smoother and that kind of thing. And like, I don't know about you, but like, I've run games with Vulkan engine support, and for whatever reason, they seem to be a lot better in terms of performance than
Yes.
like yeah,
Yes.
than DirectX for whatever reason. I don't know why. Like, it's one of those sort of things where if you ever sort of play like the latest Doom titles, like they run like a fucking dream and they look fucking
Mm.
gorgeous. And like,
So
it's one of those
part
things
of
where you kind of go
this,
like, how the fuck is this possible? And it's Vulkan.
so part of this is because what Vulkan aims to do is Vulkan aims to remove as many graphics related processes from the CPU as possible and
Yeah,
run them in a place on the graphics card that they will run in an optimized fashion. Um, this is like beneficial in multiple ways, mostly because game developers have struggled to implement in multi-threading in a meaningful way. Because obviously the game developer doesn't know how many threads they have to work with.
yeah.
Like
Like, what
some people
are we
might still
running
be
on
on
a?
2 threads. They might be like me, where they've got 16. Or they've got bigger
Or
ones than
someone's
that.
running on a fucking on a Threadripper with fucking
Yeah,
64 threads. Like,
yeah.
you don't
Or
know. Like,
somebody's running an epic
if you
chip or something.
can you imagine like trying to make a game sort of like optimize a game and its resource sort of allocation and pipelines for anything from 256 from 2 to 256, like
Yeah.
uh,
The other side
like
of this is
threads.
like operations have to
Nuts.
happen at a certain time. So
Yeah.
like or you have to delay the process completion on waiting for other information, which causes backlogs, causes the reasons for having caches, and you need to minimize the use of those caches um, in order to do subsequent calculations.
Yeah.
So
And also
like
you have
it's
to
really
like
important.
clearing and refreshing and like reloading those caches takes like, a bit more time than you may think. Like, that's where you get hitches, that's where you get stuttering. That's where all of that kind of like horribleness sort of like starts to occur. That's very much a cache issue. Like, if you I think there was a Linus LTT video where they were talking about like one of the latest AMD um, AMD CPUs, and they're basically saying like this AMD CPU is like doesn't have hitching issues because they have like increased the absolute hell out of the cache size, so you don't need to have the cache like refresh in certain points. And it's when now it's when the CPU has to refresh the cache out of like a to basically refill the cache with different information, is where you get like hitching and stuttering and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So as this progresses, obviously it's going to be in a 3.17. It's going to be in kind of a minimal state. But as they move towards 3.2, um, 3.2 they plan to have it fully implemented, which
Yeah,
is huge. This many people believe that this is where like the graphics pipeline is really going to help take off. Um, and it's going to put them
yeah,
in a lot of really good places as far as getting the game to run as smoothly as it needs to run. Um, and keeping in mind like the current like they actually have a user generated or user data generated graph of like what processor and what GPUs people have and are running the game with and what their average
yeah,
frame rates are. So like if you want to buy a computer that is specific for Star Citizen, you can buy a CPU and GPU that play well together with it. That'll obviously change as they move to this. So it'd be interesting to see like what processor and what GPU combos come out on top. Um, in the past, a high-end GPU has actually not done as much for you as the CPU has. Um, but that might change with the changeover to Vulkan, where having the um, additional throughput and processing power of a high-end GPU may be something that gives you a huge leg up. Now, on that note, we're going to talk about something AMD related. AMD
I was going to say
used a
something
very
very.
interesting word.
Oh,
Very interesting word talking about their new line of graphics cards. They said that their card is going to, quote, decimate the NVIDIA GPU line. Now,
well, that only that.
that is an interesting word.
It is an interesting word, but it is also a very specific word.
It is a very specific word, and you don't use it
I
unless you mean it.
I don't yeah, I didn't realize that it meant something very specific until I talked to, a particular angry German that I know of.
Yeah, yeah.
And he kindly reminded me that decimate means something extremely specific, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay, I didn't realize this.
Uh, so I'm just gonna let people Google that. Google
Yeah.
decimate. Uh, Basically,
Like
they've got a lot of faith in their new line, and from the numbers that we've been able to initially see on what could be the 5000 series for the Nvidia line, uh, they've got a lot to live up to, and this could be a very interesting battle of the titans for who can release a low cost, high end GPU, hopefully in a
well, yeah.
market that doesn't also have massive amount of bullshit scalping and you
So
know
yeah,
yeah.
the issue is scalping, right? The issue is scalping because like if you're looking for a low cost, high performance CPU, like scalpers like typically scalpers are all over that, and they will be relisting and relisting
Mhm.
sort of like that, so it's like fairly expensive. The issue is like from an Nvidia sort of standpoint, the price of CPUs from their standpoint is just like, oh, it's just going up. It's literally just line goes up, right? um in terms of price,
Yeah.
they don't seem to have a kind of like a meaningful price to performance sort of like quota. It's just a case of like, you know are the numbers of the sort of series going up? Yes. Okay, so the cost needs to go up as well. Yes. Like, can maybe understand that logic, but that does not that that doesn't really help in terms of your sales. Like, you kind of actually do want to find those people who want to get a good price for performance. um and hopefully, fingers crossed, and AMD will do this, with uh the scalpers, like, basically not trying to fuck this over. But you never know, right? You never know if the scalps are gonna fuck this over.
Yeah. And we can hope. We can hope. Um, but yeah. Um, Now one of the interesting things, like I actually want to talk about this for a little bit because like one of the interesting problems in the chip making space is that there are major bottlenecks, of course, with like everything, but there is one company that makes the like silicone, the makes the process that they sell these machines to other companies like TMC and uh, Samsung and all of these other companies. Basically, there's only
Okay.
one company that makes them. It's a company called ASML. Um, so this company is dramatically different than most others. It's a Dutch factory, um, and when they create one of these systems, Um, they are effectively $200 million a piece. They take about 26 747s to move them to where they need to go. So it is not a small process buying one of these machines. And of course, that machine has to have a whole bunch of tech in it, which means the sourcing and partners that they work with to build these machines, and we're trying to source all of the parts they need, are also limited by bottlenecks, which this creates yet another problem because there is no they can't get enough of the parts from their suppliers to build the machines that build chips. So you can see how this feedback loop has some fucking problems with it now.
Yeah, this is an issue with the feedback loop for sure.
So basically, they make chips, and we need to, like, the supply chain should be prioritizing them and their suppliers so that you can make more of these machines, push more of these machines to the people who use them, and are building and designing things like CPUs and GPUs and stuff like that. But that's not happening. So they're having supply chain shortages, which is causing them to slow down production, which means like it's just a total feedback loop on itself, and it's total bullshit. And it could be solved really easily by just like the supply chains just working fucking together.
Yeah, just understanding the prioritization, that if you prioritize like the manufacturers who make the machines that that these guys use, you're going to get overall better output faster.
And in chat, I linked an 18-minute video if you want to learn all about this process, like why it is the way that it is, why Russia is still working on like 46 nanometer tech when like everyone else is working on like 4. Yeah. Or no, they're working on 200 nanometers still. They're not even in the sub 100s yet. Like, and meanwhile, like there are elements of R&D at this Dutch factory that are working at sub 1 nanometer. Like, we're talking about atoms in between, which, like, yeah, the future of processing is smaller, but it also means the smaller you make these things, the more compact they can be, but also the more processes you can run in the same amount of space. So this is how you can fit a 64 core chip in the same space that used to fit 1 core. But it also uses dramatically less power because you don't need as much power to travel through such small connections, which means you're getting more for your yeah, you don't want more power at that point.
You don't want more power because like not only is more power more heat, but like more power can cause a lot of issues with like
arcing and shorting
electrons,
between
electrons not going in the right direction or not going in the right places. Like
So this is the future of tech. It is very, very small, to the point where like there are when I say this, there is one company that does the R&D for this type of stuff. They have already sold the next 8 machines, keeping in mind that these are $200 million machines. And they've already sold on pre-order the next 8 of them at the 5 nanometer scale. Like, yeah. that's a lot of money to throw in up front, and on top of that, they're dumping almost all of that money back into R&D to get the next level down, because they know that all of these companies are pushing for, what do we do next, how do we get smaller, how do we get more efficient, and this comes into play a lot when you look at server chips. So like the EPIC chips from AMD is a good example of this. You want super small, super compact, super power efficient chips that can process an immense amount of data very quickly. Well, the only way to do that is to get smaller. So the server chips the funny thing is, the server chips that are out today, these 124 core monstrosities of a chip,
Yeah.
just fucking crazy amounts of power, like crazy amounts of processing power. Use almost identical power loads to things you used 5 years ago in the same space. Like, it's
Yeah, except they're just doing
bonkers.
they're doing huge orders of magnitude more calculations.
Mm-hmm. So like, and when you think about it, like how the internet is run and how data centers work, you think about the massive rows of servers that all have those chips in them, and every single one of those chips. This is why like you frequently see them dumping old chips and upgrading to new ones, because if they can get more processing power off of the same amount of power or less power, then they're like cha-ching, because basically all like their costs are how much it costs to power these things. The building itself isn't that expensive. The AC is a little bit expensive, but that's a whole nother
You know
thing.
what I find the funny thing about that is you know what I find funny about like that general trend, right?
Mhm.
And what Nvidia have been coming out with like recently. With their 4000 series cards and the power requirements for those 4000 series cards. Have you seen anything
Oh
about
god.
that?
The 700-watt fucking GPU. Like, I'm
Yes,
sorry, most
yes.
people's fucking power supplies don't go that high. Like,
It's
I've got
it's
1,000 watts right now. Like,
it's getting ridiculous, dude. It's getting just ridiculous.
yeah.
Like,
And here's the funny thing about that. You don't need, like, it's sure it's a 700 watt power supply, or a 700-watt draw. Now, you don't need a 700-watt power supply to power that. You need more than a 700-watt power supply, because you need to run the rest of
yes.
your computer. But also, not only do you need to run the rest of your computer, but you need to run it with space to spare. Because if you were running it at full capacity, you were not getting peak efficiency out of it. So you
No. Yeah.
actually are going to need something in the ballpark of like a 1400, which now you're looking at a $400 power supply, you know and something that's not going to be quiet, by the way. Like,
No.
your $400 power supplies, sure, there's a lot of like advanced tech, but they're pushing a lot of fucking power, and they need cooling for that much power, because you like you can only push so much power. Power creates heat in your system. It's why you have fans. So like the more power you have, like for instance, throwing in a 4090 Ti in your computer, that thing is going to throw off heat like a motherfucker. Like,
Yeah.
you
But
need to
not
be able
only
to
is it
get the
gonna
heat out of there, but
yeah,
the
exactly.
power supply required to power it is also going to throw off more heat. So you need to compensate for not only the additional heat from your card, but the additional heat caused by your power supply needing to operate at that power flow. So those are all things to keep in mind. Additionally, thinking about this a little bit more long term, there is a little bit of a trend of people out there that have a tendency to daisy chain those 8-pin connectors on GPUs. I
Oh,
can tell
Jesus
you with
Christ.
virtual certainty, if you try and push 700 watts of power through a daisy chained 8-pin connector, you are going to cause a fire.
Yeah, I was
There's
about to
not
say
enough
there's
copper to
no
transfer
shortage
that.
or like a little like you're not gonna get a pop like from your
Yeah.
thing. Like that's gonna cause a fire. Like
Yeah, NVIDIA is very fastly approaching the need for a 24-pin dedicated connector for their GPU if they keep going the route that they're going. Like,
and you
just
can
simply
almost
put.
feel like they're not going to go that route. They're not going to be like, oh, well, we'll up it to
Yeah,
24 pins.
yeah.
No, they'll be like,
We'll
I
trust the
think we could just
consumer to use the 8-pin.
I think we'll just get past. Well, I think we'll just about get past. Using 2 8 pins.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. So to counter this, if
God damn.
anybody's considering building a new computer with one of these super high-end power supplies, for the love of fuck's sake, build modular power supply, if it says you need three, it has three 8-pin connectors across the top of it, you need three different 8 pins that go from the GPU to your power supply. Not
if you
not
have a
three that
branching,
daisy chain together into one, then those 8 wires go back to it. That is not the same thing.
Yeah, don't daisy chain and don't do like a Y splitter, like, into two different ones and then go back in. Like, if it needs 2 8 pins, take 2 8 pins straight from the power supply to your GPU.
Yes.
Please.
The other thing is, pay attention to your temperatures, not just on the chips, but pay attention to your ambient temperature in the case. You may doing upgrades like this where you're throwing in major equipment. You may need to upgrade the airflow in your case. We're not sponsored by any brands, but I can tell you, Noctua was the go-to brand for cooling. They finally decided to start making black fans, but even my computer has the brown ones in it. You may need to buy a new case that has more airflow opportunity. You may need to figure out opportunities and ways to upgrade fan sizes or fan speeds to ensure that you are actually getting enough airflow through that computer to not cause problems with these new chips.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah. I like nerding out when it comes to GPUs, CPUs. I built my own computer. McLeod built his computer. This is obviously an area we like.
There was something that I didn't realize about PC fans. Like a lot of PC sort of cooling companies, when they're making fans, they actually optimize different fans for different things. I didn't realize there was such a big difference between fans that are considered airflow fans and fans that are considered static pressure fans. Did you know about this?
Yes, because one is designed to work at a positive pressure, the other one's not.
Yes, exactly. So if you are going, I might need to upgrade some fans, I might need to put some new fans in there, make sure that you buy the right ones. Some are specifically designed for airflow, through a fan case kind of thing, and some are designed to basically allow that are basically put on inlets and outlets essentially, or put on things say for example, if you have a reservoir, putting airflow fans on a reservoir is not a good idea. For example, they don't have enough static pressure to push through the blades of that reservoir.
So things putting them on reservoirs, but also you should be running a positive pressure case. So how this works is you pick a direction, either forward or backwards. And this is dependent on your room. For instance, if you have a computer that is sitting inside a desk, shelf, and there's a back on that shelf, you need airflow into the back of there. No joke. You should have a hole and a fan that blows air into your computer desk, into the back of that, just so that you have air coming in. But then on the back of your computer, you should be pulling airflow from the back, so through the back of the case, through the back of the actual desk, pulling more air than the fans are set up to push out of your case. This is to, one, lower the load on those fans, but two, make sure that you have enough air to transfer heat inside your case to the air, and then push that air out through things like radiator fans. Some of the new cases have the triple mount that goes on basically your motherboard's here, your triple mount is here, and it pushes through and straight out the side of the case, because they've started adding a vent there. Other people will say, okay, hey, if you have it set up where you're in a computer desk, you need to pull that air through the front. So that means you need very powerful fans pulling air out of your case towards the front and exporting that air straight outwards. An aspect of that most people forget is that if you close the damn door on your desk, your computer is suffocating on its own
Yes.
air. Like, it's got a limited runtime before it just stops working. My mother found this out the hard way. Uh, and then we added under her desk. She had a desk in the kitchen, and she doesn't use the computer all that often, but she would leave it run. Well, she would close the door because she didn't want to hear it. Well, that's a problem. So what we did to fix this was that we went on the bottom side of the desk where you couldn't see it. We added 2 Noctua fans at the back of the desk and at the front of the desk, so that if you were sitting at the desk, you didn't really feel it, but it was pulling air in from the front and exporting out the back in a way that, it would kind of push the air out and into the room as well. So you didn't really feel it, you didn't hear it because they're Noctua's super quiet fans, but it also wasn't a super powerful computer. If I put my computer in a confined space, I've got less than 2 minutes before it burns itself alive. Like, yeah. Like, and probably the rest of whatever it's in will go on fire too. So, just some fun things to consider when upgrading your case. Maybe we should do a show on just like building a computer sometime. That could be fun.
We could do.
Yeah. Apparently, I'm hungry. So with that, that's basically all of the stuff that we have prepared for today. I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to thank the few people for the subs. We got more than I expected. So, thank you guys.
Yeah.
Thank the ton of you guys for the follows. If you want to hit follow and make sure that you know that we're coming on, we'll be coming on again next Wednesday. And we may have some news by then. I don't want to spoil anything, but there may be a special surprise for that. More for us, less for you guys, but it'll be interesting news for the channel regardless. So with that, I want to thank everybody, and as we always love to say, we will see you in the new world.